Chapter 599. Just as the forum was debating about the behavior of the Admiral, in the 64th area, except for the Black Tortoise, the 12 Guardian puppets were finally cleared out. If someone gave them a ranking, then the 64th area would be ranked 58th out of all 64 areas, which could be regarded as the bottom of the list. Of course, most of the players in Area 64 did not think so. After cheering, they began to gather at the Black Tortoise's position. While moving, they pointed at Guhan's group of 6, who were collecting spectre ships to level up, as though their behavior was ridiculous. Damn it! Sima Orange was so depressed that he wanted to quit on the spot. However, on second thought, it would be even more embarrassing if he gave up and joined the camp to fight the Black Tortoise. Those guys would not give up the opportunity to mock him. Therefore, Sima Orange gave up on the thought of giving up. However, he still sent a message to the military governor. Military governor, when are we going to end this? Wait for my order to be passed down. The military governor's message was cold, which made Sima Orange twitch his mouth in dissatisfaction. However, he had no choice but to continue collecting the ships around him. At this time, he was already on a paddle sailboat. After a while, it would be upgraded to a miniature sailboat. On the other hand, the miniature sailboat under Guhan's feet was still a miniature sailboat. After all, Guhan still needed more than 10,000 bamboo rafts to upgrade. Everyone, listen to me. Based on the experience of those brothers and the Black Tortoise's 100% rebound ability, we have to work together to deal with this Black Tortoise. When all the players in Area 64 gathered near the Black Tortoise, the player who ranked second on the leaderboard took the initiative to speak. What's your plan? How do you want us to cooperate? The other players did not refute the words of the player who ranked second. After all, this was a boss that could only be defeated by cooperation. As long as the other party's words made sense, there was no harm in listening to him. It's very simple. Several of my friends who follow me on the forum told me through communication that there is already a strategy to deal with the Black Tortoise on the forum. Our personal shields can recover energy, and we can even replace them with ancient sword-grade sword mothers. However, this Black Tortoise's HP won't recover. This is our only chance. Later, I will divide everyone into 3 echelons. One echelon will attack, and the other 2 echelons will stay away from the Black Tortoise to restore the energy of their personal shields. Once the energy of the echelon's personal shields is exhausted, the other echelon will attack. In this way, we can continue to link up and attack the Black Tortoise. We can wear this Black Tortoise to death. The voice of the person in second place was loud and clear, and his aura was high. He indeed had the ability to inspire people. Most importantly, the echelon rotation attack method was reasonable and convincing. It was the last solution everyone could come up with, and so the rest of the players agreed to it. Next, we will start to assign the members of the 3 echelons. Let's move the camera away from District 64 and into District 10. Unlike the slow and trashy District 64, District 10 had always been at the forefront of the entire competition. Among all the districts, they were the first to enter the Black Tortoise battle. Compared to District 64, which only had 1,000 people left, District 10 had 3,000 people left, which was about 3 times the number of District 64. Moreover, the first person in the entire qualifier's kill points was in District 10. He was the player in District 10, Fantasyland's Good Guy. At this time, the Fantasyland's Good Guy's kill points had reached an astonishing 6,000 kill points, which was more than double that of Guhan. But this Fantasyland's good person was different from Jiyu Han. Jiyu Han was alone, and all of his achievements were achieved by himself, one sword at a time. However, this Fantasyland's good guy relied on the help of many people to send him up. Among the top 10 sword sects, there was no doubt that the Stormwave sword sect ranked first, and the Fantasyland sword sect ranked second as well. From the name, everyone could roughly guess that this Fantasyland's good guy was a member of the Fantasyland sword sect. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary member, but the only son of the sword sect's sect leader, the Fantasyland sword sect's young sect leader. This young sect leader had long planned to make a name for himself in the 8 Cities Sword Conference, so that his path to taking over the Fantasyland sword sect would be smoother in the future. As a result, the young master arranged for 10,000 elite swordbearers from his own sect to sign up for the sword conference at the same time as him. This way, apart from a few unlucky fellows, these 10,000 people were all allocated to the 10th region with the good people from Fantasy Village. Therefore, the first and second round of the battle became a game of everyone picking up firewood. After the subordinates of the Fantasyland's good guy killed their tiger-striped shark in the first round, they tried their best to get closer to their leader's position. This young sect leader quickly gathered all his forces together. Next, it was time for these 10,000 subordinates to show their loyalty in the second round. This was because the kill points were calculated from the last attack. In other words, even if you didn't attack before, as long as the last attack was yours, the kill points would be yours. Therefore, these elite subordinates sacrificed their own yuan coup. When they were killed until they only had one hit left, all of them would be handed over to the Fantasyland's good guy to finish them off. This Fantasyland's good guy only needed to control his ship to continuously harvest the last bit of Yuan Ku's HP. In terms of pure speed, he had already more than doubled Guhan's. Often, the entire orange or yellow sea area of 100 Yuan Kus were all taken up by this young sect leader. In this way, his kill points naturally rose rapidly. It was extremely normal for it to reach the shocking 6,000 kill points. However, it was a pity that the last round relied on the amount of damage dealt to calculate the kill value. This way, the young sect master couldn't harvest like he did in the second round. Only then did the growth of the kill value slow down. Otherwise, he could have rushed to more than 10,000. That was good too. Since he couldn't farm kill points in the third round, he would use the fastest speed to finish the battle. Didn't the system say that the first region to finish the battle would have extra rewards? The organized elite players were much more efficient than the casual players in clearing monsters. Under the battle of the remaining 2,000 or so elites of the Fantasyland, the 10th region was the first to complete the clearing of Yuan Kus except for the Black Tortoise. Moreover, the 10th region was also the first region to use the three-team ladder tactic to besiege the Black Tortoise. At this time, the Black Tortoise in the 10th region had lost about half of its HP under the siege of more than 1,000 players. It only had 53% left. Very good. If this goes on for another 20 minutes, the first region will be mine, said the good man of the Fantasyland while clenching his fist. Young sect leader, according to the information from the forum, now Area 64, where the military governor is located, has also entered the stage of being besieged by the Black Tortoise. Next to the good man of the Fantasyland, a coquettish female player who looked like an assistant reported to the good man of the Fantasyland. It was a pity that the two of them couldn't stand on the same vehicle. Otherwise, the good man of the Fantasyland would definitely pull this coquettish beauty into his arms, pinch her OP a few times, and feel the amazing elasticity. Trash, I didn't expect that with a strong person like the military governor, Area 64 is still such trash, said the good man of the Fantasyland resentfully. Originally, he planned to have a fierce battle with the military governor in Area 64, but he never thought that this Area 64 was so vulnerable. He almost emptied half of the Black Tortoise's HP, and the other party had just started to fight with the Black Tortoise. Was there any suspense about the result of this battle and the first region to finish the battle? What about the military governor? How is he now? What's his kill points now? Since he had already won in terms of speed, as long as he defeated the military governor in terms of kill points, then the glorious laurel of defeating the military governor would fall on his head. Then, the title of the first person in the sword level would also be his. This good person thought to himself happily, as if he had already forgotten how he had obtained these kill points. The military governor's kill points are still 2,759 as reported before. There's no change, replied the coquettish woman. What? There's still no change? The military governor has maintained this number for almost half an hour. What has he been doing for half an hour? Playing with water? Asked the good man of the Fantasyland excitedly. It seemed that Guhan's poor results were very difficult for him to accept. Young sect leader, according to the information, the military governor seems to have been upgrading the ship under his feet during this time. Now it is said that it has been upgraded to level 6, and it has become a small warship. You said that he is upgrading his ship. The young sect leader sneered and said very disdainfully, "It seems that I really overestimated this guy. I guess he knows that his personal strength is meaningless to the Black Tortoise, so he simply gave up and went to play bumper boats on the sea. Chimph, what military governor? What first person in the sword level? He's just trash to me. I treated him as a strong opponent and prepared hundreds of plans. It seems that it's all meaningless now. He's not worthy to be my opponent. Young sect leader is right. That military governor is not worthy to be your opponent. You can send the military governor flying with a kick with your toe," said the coquettish woman like a crazy woman. She looked like she was very obsessed with the young sect leader of the Fantasyland. "Ha ha ha. Well said, but what do you mean by a toe? I think you want to eat your master's stinky feet. Well, when today's competition is over, come to my room. I will reward you with my stinky feet. You have to carefully lick them clean for me." "Thank you, master. Thank you, master." The coquettish woman looked like she was drooling and could not wait. As for how much disgust and helplessness she felt in her heart, only she knew. Unfortunately, the good man of the Fantasyland's dream did not last long. When the Black Tortoise's health dropped to 50%, something strange happened. Chapter 600. When the Black Tortoise's HP fell below 2.5 million, which was 50% HP, the black tortoise that had been shrinking its limbs in the tortoise shell stretched out its body from the tortoise shell. The besieging players were stunned when they saw this scene. Someone immediately shouted with joy, "Everyone, hurry up and attack the black tortoise's limbs. This way, there won't be any backlash." Hearing someone say so, all the players immediately ordered their sword maidens to attack the black tortoise's limbs, thinking that there wouldn't be any backlash. Even the other two echelons that were resting on the side were ready to attack. At this moment, the black tortoise's tortoise head suddenly opened its mouth. A huge suction force came from its mouth, and the seawater around it was sucked into the black tortoise's mouth. At the same time, the black tortoise's HP was restored at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a minute, the black tortoise's HP was restored to full. Then, it closed its mouth in satisfaction, retracted its limbs, and returned to the previous state where it couldn't fight back. The good people of Fantasy Village were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. "I've fought hard for half an hour, and it's all back to before overnight. How could this be? This black tortoise can actually restore my HP to full. How can I fight this? Won't I never be able to defeat this black tortoise in my life?" The good people of Fantasy Village felt a deep despair from the bottom of their hearts. This was an unsolvable boss, an opponent that could never be defeated. No. This is just a qualifier. The system can't possibly create an unsolvable boss. There must be other ways. Although the good people of Fantasy Village were a little funny, they were not stupid. They quickly recovered their calmness and knew that the black tortoise couldn't be unsolvable. There must be something that they had overlooked, and this was the black tortoise's weakness. Suddenly, the good people of Fantasy Village remembered the military governor's action just now. Could it be that the military governor also discovered something? Just as the good people of Fantasy Village were about to follow the example of the military governor and send people to upgrade the ship, suddenly, the coquettish assistant said excitedly, "Master, this black tortoise is not unsolvable. Our people just discovered that the black tortoise's HP limit has changed from 5 million to 4 million. It has reduced its HP limit by 1 million. Really?" The good people of Fantasy Village observed for a while. Sure enough, the upper limit of the black tortoise's health points had changed from 5 million to 4 million. However, the health points were still full, so it did not attract the attention of other players at first. "I see. I got it. The effect of black tortoise's skill should be to sacrifice 1 million or 20% of its maximum HP to restore all its HP. That's right. As long as we keep attacking, this black tortoise will die in our hands sooner or later." When the good people of Fantasy Village thought of this, they became excited again. "Tell everyone about this discovery immediately. Tell them not to be discouraged and continue the echelon attack. We are still first in all regions." Next, the good people of Fantasy Village told everyone about this matter, so that the morale of the subordinates, who had been depressed because of the Black Tortoise's recovery of blood, regained their fighting spirit. On the other hand, the good man of Fantasyland quietly left the commander's position. He controlled his ship and sailed toward the nearest ghost ship gathering place. The military governor's actions were still lingering in his heart. Originally, he had some disdain for the military governor, but now he suddenly felt that he was the most stupid guy. Important information: Black Tortoise's HP is full in an instant. A few minutes later, the news of the good people of Fantasy Village instantly blew up the entire forum. The players who paid attention to this matter were shocked by the officials' bad taste. Oh my god, they are deliberately not letting the players pass. But soon, the news that Boss Black Tortoise's maximum HP had lost 1 million also came out, letting the players know that the official did not make an unsolvable setting, but just made Black Tortoise's HP more difficult to consume. What is the official doing this for? It feels like it's meaningless. A player replied in the forum and said what everyone was thinking. He wrote like this: I can't see why the system designed Black Tortoise like this. To test the players' cooperation? Except for the need for cooperation when changing echelons, I can't see any need for cooperation at all. To test the players' skills? What kind of skills do you need? Just keep your head down and attack. As long as you don't break your personal shield, that's enough. To test the player's personal shield thickness? I can't refute this. It's true that the thicker the shield, the higher the kill value. But if it's to test the thickness, then just sum up the player's personal shield strength together, and then sit in rows and divide the results. Why make a black tortoise that needs to be killed for a few hours to disgust us? Even the military governor, the number one person in the sword level, was forced to play bumper boats by this boring yuan coup. He would rather not have the kill value than to play this boring game. So in general, the planner who designed this black tortoise is a retard, a complete retard, a hopeless retard. The player wrote angrily. I strongly agree with the above comment. This planner is a retard. The player's reply immediately resonated with many people. Another player wrote, and more importantly, it's meaningless for those players who are destined not to enter the top 16. After the initial interest, they will soon find that it's a very boring thing. Even if they work hard for a few hours, it's impossible for them to enter the top 16. When they enter the semifinals, they will give up the siege, or take the initiative to leave the preliminaries, or watch the joke again. In that case, the whole battle will drag on for a longer time. Maybe they will fight for a day and a night. The entire forum was full of discussions about Black Tortoise. These discussions were quickly passed from the forum to the ears of players in other areas. F***CK. It can recover its HP when it reaches 50%. The second leader who was organizing people to besiege Black Tortoise in Area 64 was so angry that he wanted to curse when he got the news from his friend's communication. They were not like the 10th area, which had a large number of people and all of them were elites. In Area 64, except for the military governor, they were all the weakest among the sword-level sword-bearers. They could at least take out 2.5 million HP in 30 minutes, but what about them? They couldn't even take out 6% in 10 minutes. At the thought of returning to the upper limit of 4 million HP when it reached 50%, the second leader wanted to quit on the spot and quit the competition. Even the second place wanted to quit the competition. Those players who were ranked in the hundreds and had no hope of getting into the top 16 simply collapsed when they learned that the Black Tortoise could recover its health. More than a dozen players withdrew from the siege on the spot. Most of them simply took the initiative to leave the preliminary map, and some stood aside to watch the players who chose to continue to attack. Giving up was contagious. Every minute that passed, there would be more or less players who couldn't stand this endless battle and gave up. The number of players besieging Area 64 was getting fewer and fewer, from the thousands at the beginning to only a little more than 600 now. Seeing this situation, the person in second place almost broke down. If it wasn't for the fact that after he quit, the person in 17th place would take the opportunity to substitute in and replace him, he would have given up long ago. This was really a kind of torture. Military governor. How long are we going to collect them? Even though they were Guhan's fangirls, the 4 female players couldn't take it anymore. They had been bumping boats for an hour, and they were going crazy. What level are your boats at? Guhan thought for a moment and asked in the communication channel. I'm 1,000 experience points away from the small warship. Me too, about 1,000 experience points away from the small warship. The 4 female players said in unison. They were now all small warships, and there was still a certain distance from the small warship. I still have 400 experience points to the small warship. The only male player, Tochibona Zhangzong, responded weakly. Sure enough, guys were more reliable. Although they said they were unwilling, their actions were ahead of all the girls. Guhan looked at the experience bar of his boat again. Transportation level, level 6, small sail warship, upgrade requirement, 1134715625. Because of the huge size of the sail warship, it could absorb many bamboo rafts into its hull at the same time. Therefore, the other 5 people only got about 3,000 experience points in an hour, but Guhan got more than 9,000 experience points. Wait a little longer. When you guys reach the small warship, it will be time for us to laugh at those idiots. Guhan looked at the black tortoise whose health bar was approaching 65% and said with a smile. I finally understand what this black tortoise is testing us about. Seeing that there were only about 300 people still fighting, the second person stood up and encouraged the morale. I've heard that our senior swordbearer hid in the snow for 10 days and 10 nights in order to kill a Yuan Ku in reality. He didn't move at all, and finally killed that Yuan Ku when it was unprepared. It's the same now. This qualifier is a test of our patience and concentration. If we don't even have a little patience, how can we protect humans in reality and become a true swordbearer? Comrades, we must hold on. We will reach 50% soon, and we will definitely win the final victory. Perseverance is victory. The words of the second-place player were impassioned, reasonable, and convincing. However, the words of the second-place player also revealed a piece of news, which was that the black tortoise's HP would soon reach 50%, which meant that the most desperate time was about to come. Chapter 601. District 10's Black Tortoise has recovered its HP for the second time. Its upper limit of HP is only 3 million. It's one step faster than all the other districts. It seems that District 10 will be the first place this time. The posts on the forum had almost confirmed that the first place was the good guy from Fantasyland. As for District 64, which was originally the focus of attention, no one had any hope for them anymore. It was said that there were less than 300 people still besieging the Black Tortoise. Whether they could successfully complete the beheading was also a problem. Finally starting to recover HP. Finally, the Black Tortoise's HP was forcibly reduced to 2.5 million. However, just like the news on the forum, this Black Tortoise opened its big mouth and absorbed the seawater into its body, restoring its HP to full. However, the upper limit of its HP became 398,400. Strange, shouldn't it be 4 million? Why is it missing 16,000 HP? The second person in charge of the command was a little strange, but soon, he was not in the mood to pay attention to this. Because at this time, a system prompt suddenly reached the ears of every player. System message: all the black tortoises in all 64 districts have completed their first rebirth. The reward for the first place in the district is announced. The first district to complete the final beheading will have an additional 16 places in the semifinals. The last district or the district with the most HP will lose its 16 places in the semifinals. F***CK. Hearing this news, the person in second place directly collapsed on his boat and couldn't even stand up. His black tortoise had just been reborn and he heard this system message. It was obvious that the last place in all the districts was his District 64. It was obvious that the district that would lose all the places in the semifinals was also his district. The second person's thoughts were also the thoughts of all the remaining less than 300 players. The reason why they persisted until now was that they might be able to counterattack and obtain the 16 places in the semifinals of their district. But now, this idea was ruthlessly shattered. They had completely lost hope. More than 200 people directly chose to withdraw from the competition on the spot. With a flash of light, they disappeared from their ships, leaving only an empty spectre ship to prove that their masters had existed. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect this to be the result after persisting for so long. The person in second place laughed out loud, then glanced at the military governor and the others who were still playing with the bumper boats. But someone is much more unlucky than me. He was the number one in the sword competition, but he can't even enter the semifinals. It's not a loss. With that thought in mind, the figure in second place also disappeared from the ship. Damn it, this was a sure defeat. There was nothing more to say. At the same time, after the announcement of the system prompt, the entire forum exploded again. Strange, why did they use again? Could it be that there were many explosions before? Well, these weren't the main point. The main point was that the forum was instantly filled with posts of sympathy for the military governor. On one hand, they lamented that the system really knew how to play, and on the other hand, they lamented the impermanence of the world. The number one swordsman, the military governor, was actually defeated in the preliminaries. This was something that countless players had never expected. According to the latest news from District 64, there were less than 50 people left in the entire district. District 63, which was the second last place, had more than 500 people. The number of people was 10 times that of District 64. There was no doubt that the last place would be District 64. As a member of District 64, the military governor would also completely lose the right to enter the semifinals. In the end, his first Sword Among 8 Cities tournament would stop at the preliminaries. It had to be said that this was a big joke that the system played on the military governor. In the forum, a large number of fans of the military governor began to post and scold the system for being crazy. They wanted to go to the system to evaluate the military governor according to his real strength and get justice for the military governor. There was even a topic on the forum, "Bat get out of the gaming circle," which received millions of likes. But the problem was that the game itself was built on Bat. Without Bat, there would be no game world. This was as ridiculous as asking Taiwanese to get out of China. Since ancient times, Taiwanese had been China's sacred and inalienable territory. How could they be chased out? Of course, apart from these bored fangirls, there were still quite a few rational fans on the internet. They all expressed that 10 years was nothing to be afraid of and that they could wait. They enthusiastically celebrated the Admiral's achievement of winning the 21st 8-city sword duel. Unfortunately, they didn't think that in the 21st Sword Among 8 Cities tournament 10 years later, how could the military governor still be at the Sword Among 8 Cities tournament? No matter how they looked at it, he should at least be promoted to the spiritual sword level. Otherwise, the name of the military governor would not live up to its name. The news of the military governor's elimination from the semifinals had also reached the ears of the good guy in Fantasy Village. He, who was standing on the miniature sail warship, let out a long sigh of relief when he heard the news. However, he still said in annoyance, "It's a pity that I can't compete with the military governor on the same stage. If that's the case, wouldn't my reputation as the best in the Sword Among Swords level be unworthy? It's such a pity." No, wait. Suddenly, the good guy in Fantasy Village thought of something. He looked at the miniature sail warship beneath his feet, and his expression instantly turned ugly. Perhaps, it's not certain yet. Indeed, it was not certain yet. "Mr. Military Governor, did you hear that? We're done for. We're doomed to lose all our spot." Sima Cheng said weakly. "Mr. Military Governor, I'm preparing to leave. Staying here is just a waste of time." "That's not necessarily true." Guhan's voice was full of power, which made Sima Cheng feel a lot more excited. "Let me ask you, what level of warship are you standing on now?" "It's already a small warship," Sima Cheng replied. Guhan then asked the other 4 girls. Their warships had all become small warships as well. Very good. Ji Yuhan absorbed the last bamboo raft into his battleship, and the battleship instantly transformed, turning into a huge monster. Transportation level, level 7, medium ironclad battleship, upgrade requirement, 178125, medium ironclad battleship, level 5, cannot be damaged. Cannot be sunk. Surface combat vehicle. Sailing speed, 14 knots. Size, 100 by 15 by 6. Equipment, 2 150mm dual main cannons. Damage, Fixed damage, 4,000 points door, how about we make a bet? Guhan's voice carried a hint of excitement. I bet that our region will take first place in the preliminaries. Around the Black Tortoise, there were a few dozen players standing on their bamboo rafts. They looked at the lazy Black Tortoise with pained and helpless expressions. Although there were only 32 people left, and their chances of advancing to the next round had been raised to 50%, they were destined to miss out on the opportunity after 16 spots were taken away. They could only look at the Black Tortoise reluctantly, unwilling to leave. It was as though they could still advance to the semifinals if they stayed. Damn it! A player hammered hard on his ship. Every punch represented his unwillingness to give up. Guys, look. What's that? Suddenly, he heard a player say excitedly. The player immediately turned around and saw a scene that he would never forget in his life. A huge steel warship that wasn't much smaller than the Black Tortoise had appeared in front of him. The player also knew something about things before the Great Destruction. He knew that this was the supreme divine weapon that humans used to control the sea before the Great Destruction, the battleship. How could there be a battleship here? The player rubbed his eyes in disbelief. It's the military governor. Just now, the military governor has been absorbing ships to upgrade his own ship. He must have upgraded his ship to a battleship. A player explained excitedly. Look, there are 5 smaller warships behind. The player found that there were another 5 smaller warships following the huge battleship. The 6 warships actually formed an awe-inspiring Ling's warship, slowly moving in front of the Black Tortoise. With the arrival of these battleships, the Black Tortoise, who had been hiding in the tortoise shell and ignoring all attacks, instantly stretched out its limbs from the tortoise shell. Its eyes were no longer lazy, but full of deep fear. The Black Tortoise, which had not moved a bit, actually began to paddle vigorously, trying to escape from the boy. Unfortunately, the Black Tortoise seemed to have forgotten that it was still a tortoise. A tortoise had the advantage of being a tortoise. It had a thick defense, so thick that even Guhan couldn't do anything about it. However, it also had its disadvantages. That was, its speed was so slow that anyone could ignore it. Boom! The 6 warships seemed to have agreed at the same time. They made a deafening noise at the same time, especially the largest battleship. Its 2 dual-mounted main cannons could be aimed in one direction at the same time, firing 4 terrifyingly powerful 150mm shells at the same time. At this moment, all the players were attracted by the heroic figure of the giant battleship cannons. They became the new group of giant battleship cannons after the Great Destruction. Chapter 602. What was the feeling of a tsunami? What was the feeling of heaven and earth changing color? The players in Area 64 were the ones who felt it the most. At this time, the remaining 32 players in Area 64 were deeply attracted by the invincibility of the giant ships and cannons. The cannons fired in unison. 6 warships, a total of 14 artillery shells hit the body of the Black Tortoise close at hand, almost blowing up the Black Tortoise's shell. -1000. -1000. A total of 10-1000 numbers emerged from the Black Tortoise's body. This was the result caused by the 4 small sail warships. In addition, there were 4 terrifying -4000 numbers exploding on the Black Tortoise's body. This was naturally the result caused by the military governor's giant ship. The 5 small warships caused a total of 10,000 damage. The total damage was not as high as the 16,000 damage caused by Guhan alone. Adding the 2 together, that was 26,000 damage. Divided by 4 million, that was a full 0.6% damage. F***CK. If that was the case, wouldn't it only take 170 volleys for this Black Tortoise to die on the spot? Oh, that's not right. This Black Tortoise could regenerate its HP. Calculating carefully, it needed 212 shots to kill this Black Tortoise. If a round of shots was fired every 20 seconds, it would only take 70 minutes to kill this Black Tortoise. This was much faster than any other region. Even in the 10th area, it took more than an hour to deplete the Black Tortoise's 4.5 million HP. Now the 10th area still needed to destroy about 3.5 million HP of the Black Tortoise. It seemed that it would be impossible to catch up with the 10th area. But it was more than enough to catch up with the other areas. At least the 64th area would not be the last place anymore. Didn't that mean that he still had a chance to participate in the semifinals? Moreover, the probability was very high. It was a full 50% chance. Rumble. 20 seconds later, there was another round of gunfire. The Black Tortoise lost another 26,000 HP. With the 2 rounds added together, the Black Tortoise had lost 1.2% of its HP. Seeing this, the player's morale was boosted. His dispirited body stood up again. The Sword Lady, who had recovered a long time ago, jumped onto the back of the Black Tortoise again and started to attack. Although the chance of entering the semifinals had increased to 50%, there were still 16 people competing with him for this last chance. If he still couldn't enter the semifinals when there were 32 people left, wouldn't it be shameful? However, when his Sword Lady jumped onto the back of the Black Tortoise, the player was surprised to find that the HP bar of the Black Tortoise seemed to be full. The previous 2 rounds should have taken away 1.6% of the Black Tortoise's HP bar. No matter how he looked at it, the Black Tortoise's HP bar should have decreased by 1 bar. Why was it still full without any change? Could it be that the damage just now was fake? Was it an illusion? Am I lying to myself? The player rubbed his eyes in disbelief. If that was really the case, he would jump into the sea and never play this game again. F***ck, his heart wouldn't be able to take such a drastic rise and fall. He rubbed his eyes until they were swollen. Then he was surprised to find that it was not that the Black Tortoise's HP bar did not decrease, but that the upper limit of the Black Tortoise's HP had decreased. The upper limit of its HP had changed from 398,4000 to 393,2000. The upper limit of its HP had been reduced by 52,000 points. This number was exactly the same as the damage caused by the 2 rounds of gunfire just now. I see. The damage caused by this cannon is not the damage to the HP, but the damage directly to the upper limit of the HP. In this way, the Black Tortoise's great healing method is completely ineffective. The player began to get excited. Vaguely, he even had a bold guess in his heart. Sir Military Governor, I have never been convinced by anyone in my life, but I am convinced by you. The player suddenly knelt down in the direction of the military governor's huge ship and kowtowed deeply. At this moment, the military governor had another fangirl, a completely brainless fangirl. Guhan, who was standing on the huge ship, didn't know that someone was kowtowing to him below. He was calmly ordering his temporary subordinates, keep your posture, keep your distance, and shoot this Black Tortoise at the same time. Try to end the battle within 50 minutes. Hooray! Hooray! The players in the 10th zone cheered because at this time, the Black Tortoise's HP was less than 300,000. The entire Black Tortoise had only been reborn 3 times. For the 4th time, when its HP was half, which was 2 million HP and its upper limit was 1 million HP, the Black Tortoise finally stopped absorbing the seawater to recover its HP. It finally began to fear. It seemed to sense that it was about to die, so it began to run wildly, trying to escape from the player's pursuit. Although these attempts were futile, it also made the pursuit a little troublesome. Otherwise, the Black Tortoise might have less than 100,000 HP now. At this time, the good guy in the fantasy who had not been in the command post finally returned to the battlefield. At this time, he was standing on a small sail warship. Fire! Fire for me! After approaching the Black Tortoise, the good guy in the fantasy left and let his warship fire. 2 cannonballs with 1,000 points of fixed damage shot out and hit the Black Tortoise's shell, causing 2,000 points of fixed damage. At the same time, the good guy in the fantasy also discovered that the upper limit of the Black Tortoise's HP had changed from 2 million to 199,80010. At this moment, he finally figured out the strange behavior of the military governor and what the military governor was up to. Come here, let me ask you, what's the situation in the 64th zone now? The good guy in the fantasy who was somewhat anxious called his coquettish assistant over and asked directly. News? What news do I need? Isn't the military governor destined to be eliminated? The assistant did not understand what had happened and said stupidly. You useless thing, the military governor is likely to have caught up with our progress. You go and check it for me now. Otherwise, believe it or not, I'll stuff your mouth full of *tea today and make you a veritable meat toilet. The coquettish assistant was frightened by the term meat toilet. She immediately began to contact her observer on the forum. After dozens of seconds, the assistant said with an innocent face, "Master, the people on the forum said that because there are only about 30 people left in the entire 64th zone, it seems that the remaining people did not share the situation of 64th zone through their own communication device or did not post it on the forum. In the past 50 minutes, there has been no news from 64th zone. Damn it." The good guy in the fantasy closed his eyes for a while, then suddenly opened his eyes and ordered, "We can't drag it any longer. The longer we delay, the more trouble there will be. Immediately let the other 2 echelons that are resting enter the battle, and use the fastest speed to solve the remaining 300,000 HP. But master, there are still 2 echelons of people who are recovering their personal shields. If they go up now, I'm afraid their personal shields will be broken." The assistant said weakly. "Who cares what will happen to their personal shields? It's just a game, and they won't die. What's there to be afraid of? Let them go up immediately, go up." The good guy in the fantasy land had not finished his words. Suddenly, there was a system prompt in his ear. System message: "Congratulations to the players of the 64th zone for defeating the Black Tortoise first and completing the qualifier. The players of the 64th zone will get an additional 16 places in the semifinals as a reward. Let us congratulate the players of the 64th zone, sincerely congratulate them on their achievement. F***ck. Thousands of words finally turned into the word F***ck. The young master of the Fantasyland looked at his coquettish assistant with horror and anger. It seemed that tonight, this woman could not escape the fate of being a meat toilet. It was really sad. The heart of the good guy in the Fantasyland was exploding, and the entire forum was even more exploding. The moment the system message came out, the entire forum was instantly flooded with posts with the same theme. It was not that the author's fingers spasmed and pressed the question mark button a few times, but these players used the title and content of the last question mark to constantly refresh the forum's latest posts. This represented the same question in all the players' heart. Why? Why? Why did the military governor still win in the end? What the hell happened here? All the spectators in the forum were deeply shrouded in their hearts by this question. Their hearts were full of curiosity as if they were being scratched by hundreds of kittens. Unfortunately, no one could answer their questions. Long live the military governor. The 124th fan group of the military governor has sent a congratulatory message. Long live the military governor. The military governor has sent a congratulatory message from the London City fan group. After a series of question marks, the forum was quickly occupied by all kinds of congratulatory messages from the military governor's fans, diehard fans, and fangirls. At this moment, all the fans of the military governor collectively reached a climax. They once again deeply realized that their idol was powerful. He was invincible. He was invincible. No matter how desperate the situation was, in the hands of the military governor, there was only one result: victory, and it was an unparalleled and perfect victory. A few minutes later, the news of the successful killing of the Black Tortoise in the 10th region spread to the forum. It was a pity that this matter, which should have triggered a heated discussion in the forum and made the players talk about the good guy in the Fantasyland enthusiastically, was quietly drowned in the tide-like posts. Even if the Fantasyland's tens of thousands of internet water army wanted to make their presence known, it was useless. It was just tens of thousands of internet water army. How could it be compared to the power of the military governor's 10 million fangirls? Finally, 5 minutes later, a video recorded by the players was uploaded to the forum. The 6 warships that changed the color of the sky and earth deeply shocked everyone. At this moment, the players understood why the military governor would quietly upgrade his warships. It turned out that all the preparations were made here. The players couldn't help but think that the military governor actually began to collect warships to upgrade in the second round. Could it be that the military governor had already predicted the system's trick in the second round? No matter what the players thought, The future generations only knew that after today, the military governor's 2,000 fan group increased by more than 1,000 overnight. The military governor once again proved his strength to everyone. As long as the military governor was there, victory belonged to the military governor. Chapter 603. Jiyu Shenyuan, who had been lying on the bed like a zombie, suddenly moved her head and took off the helmet on her head. After going through a qualifier that lasted a few hours, even Guhan felt extremely tired. "You're awake, hurry up and eat." Coincidentally, at this time, Lu Shihua brought a bowl of porridge to Jiyu Xuanyuan's side and began to feed Jiyu Shenyuan mouthful by mouthful. Compared to the time when she had just woken up, Jiyu Xuanyuan's body had recovered a lot. Although she still could not control her body, her upper body's sense of touch had completely recovered. This meant that Jiyu Shenyuan could now feel everything that happened to her upper body, but her lower body still had no feeling. Ever since Lu Yin began to repair the electrical appliances, the entire Lu family's situation had improved a lot. From the initial pure nutrient solution to the current nutrient solution porridge, the Lu family could now eat a more normal diet. After a big bowl of porridge, Jiyu Shenyuan felt that her strength had recovered a lot. At this time, she heard Lu Shihua ask curiously, "Sister Shenyuan, is this game really that fun? You stay in there every day, don't you feel bored?" "I'll feel bored if I don't enter the game." Jiyu Shenyuan obviously would not say that. She nodded and her goddess-like voice flowed out, "The game is a very interesting world. On a certain level, it's far more interesting than the real world. Why are you suddenly asking me this today? Do you want to enter the game to experience it?" "I want to experience it, but I don't have the time." Lu Shihua's face darkened. "Although the situation at home is a little better now, Little Yin told me that he walked around the junkyard yesterday and found that there were not many electrical appliances that could be repaired. At most, in another 10 or so days, I'm afraid that his electrical appliance repair business will be cut off." "Oh well, the situation at the core area has improved a lot recently. Everyone has settled down, the troop can also reopen, and I can also earn some income." Lu Shihua's face was full of worry. Although she said it was nothing, she was actually very worried about it. "Shihua, what do you do? I've never heard you talk about it these few days. Are you some kind of actor or something?" Jiyu Shenyuan asked curiously. This Lu Shihua had always said that he was performing, but he had never said what he was performing. "I'm just playing a small role in an acrobatic troupe." "I'm not really an actor," Qin Haodong said with a smile. Lu Shihua's expression became even more gloomy, and he deliberately avoided Guhan's question, refusing to say what he did. Seeing that Lu Shihua did not say anything, Jiyu Shenyuan did not ask any further, so she changed the topic. "Oh right, Shihua, how old are you today? Have you turned 18? This?" Lu Shihua hesitated for a moment before replying, "I'll be 18 today." "Isn't today your birthday?" Jiyu Shenyuan was taken aback. No wonder Lu Shihua would ask her about the game. It turned out that today was her 18th birthday. Today, she also had the right to enter the game. Thinking that she only had a place to stay because of Lu Shihua's help, and it happened to be Lu Shihua's birthday, Jiyu Shenyuan decided to help Lu Shihua no matter what. At the very least, she wanted to free the siblings from this difficult situation. Jiyu Shenyuan thought for a moment, then said to Lu Yin, who had been silent all this time, "Lu Yin, come here." In the past, as soon as Jiyu Shenyuan called out to him, Lu Yin would run over eagerly. But this time, Jiyu Shenyuan called out to him 5 or 6 times before this brat, Lu Yin, quietly came to Jiyu Xuanyuan's side. His tone was a little impatient. "Big beautiful sister, why are you looking for me? I'm busy. If you have something to say, hurry up and say it." "Little Yin, how can you speak to Sister Shenyuan like that?" Hearing Lu Yin's tone, Lu Shihua's face suddenly turned black. When Lu Yin saw this scene, all the hairs on his body stood up. He quickly hugged his sister and said coquettishly, "Sister, don't blame me, I was blinded by lard. Just now, I was watching the video of the Admiral's preliminaries. It was too awesome and too good to watch. Watching it made my entire body's blood boil. Especially at the end, when the Admiral made a comeback from the hopeless situation of certain defeat, I almost shouted out. Hehe, I was a little excited watching it, a little excited, so I spoke without thinking. What the hell? Lu Shihua knocked Lu Yin's head hard. Sister Shenyuan has something to ask you. You answer Sister Xuanyuan's question honestly. Do you hear me? Yes. 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 Lu Yin kept nodding, smiling mischievously, looking like a traitor translator in a pre-apocalyptic anti-Japanese drama. Big beautiful sister, if you have any instructions, I will do it for you. Let me ask you, little Yin, the other game helmet you picked up the day before yesterday, have you fixed it? Jiyu Shenyuan asked helplessly. Yes. Yes. Lu Yin quickly took out a helmet from the box, handed it to Jiyu Shenyuan, and asked, beautiful sister, what do you want this helmet for? Don't tell me your helmet is broken. If it's broken, I'll fix it for you, but this helmet has already been reserved by Brother Liu next door, the money has already been paid, and they'll be taking it away tomorrow. Lu Yin's newly repaired helmet looked obviously better than the one Jiyu Shenyuan was using. It should have been thrown away after a few years of use. Lu Yin thought that Jiyu Shenyuan had taken a fancy to this new helmet and wanted to change it for him. I don't want your helmet, I just want to borrow it. Jiyu Shenyuan took the helmet and passed it to Lu Shihua. Shihua, since you're already an adult, why don't you enter the game today and experience this new world? No. 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 Lu Shihua waved his hand. I'm not entering the game, it's not suitable for me. I still have a lot of things to do. How can I afford the luxury of playing these games? I'm not going in. Take it, if I tell you to go in, then go in. Jiyu Xuanyuan's voice suddenly became dignified and overbearing. Lu Shihua was momentarily stunned by Jiyu Shenyuan. He actually couldn't even utter a single word of rebuttal. Let's play for tonight. We'll talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow, understand? Oh. What else could Lu Shihua say? Her heart was originally full of curiosity about the game, otherwise she wouldn't have taken the initiative to ask Jiyu Shenyuan about the game. Under Jiyu Xuanyuan's forceful order, she reluctantly agreed. Very good. Jiyu Shenyuan nodded her head. Suddenly, she felt that her lower body was a little bit cold. This was the first time she had felt something towards her lower body since she woke up. This made Jiyu Shenyuan very excited. This meant that her lower body was also gradually recovering. The day when she would once again return to Jiyu Han should not be far away. I'm so envious of sister. You're already 18 years old. You can enter the game now. Seeing this, Lu Yin was extremely jealous. His passion for the game was much higher than his sister's. It was a pity that this child was only 14 years old. There were still 4 more years before she could enter the game, unlike Lu Shihua who was already an adult. Forget it, I'll go watch the video. Even if I watch the video 10 more times, it still won't be enough. Lu Yin, who was envious, jealous, and hateful in his heart, could only rely on the video to appease his heart's desire for the game. But when Lu Yin was about to leave, a somewhat stuffy and strange fragrance entered his nostrils. He couldn't help but sniff a few more times. What a fragrant smell! It's like the smell of orchids. It's really too fragrant. Lu Yin blew his nose, smelling everywhere. Sister, do you smell this fragrance? The fragrance of orchids. Lu Shihua also sniffed. Indeed, there was a faint orchid fragrance around him, and as time passed, this orchid fragrance became thicker and thicker. In the end, it was as if a perfume bottle had spilled beside him. Sister, this is the smell coming from the beautiful sister. Lu Yin quickly found the source of the fragrance, because the smell around Jiyu Xuanyuan's body was especially strong. Anyone with a normal nose would be able to smell this smell. At this time, Jiyu Shenyuan was also confused. She had no idea what was going on. She had also smelled the fragrance, but in her perception, it was not the fragrance of orchids, but the scent of sandalwood that was similar to orchids. She had smelled this scent when she was immersed in the true martial hall of the Wudong Peak dungeon. Strange, why would such a scent suddenly appear on her body? Suddenly, Guhan remembered the cold feeling he felt in his lower body just now. Now, not only did this cold feeling not disappear, but it became even cooler. Could it be? Jiyu Xuanyuan's mind came up with a bad idea. Found it. The source of the fragrance is here. Unfortunately, Jiyu Xuanyuan's reaction was still a step slower than Lu Yin. He suddenly pointed at the blanket under Jiyu Xuanyuan's lower body and said, Sister, look, what's going on? Why is Sister Xuanyuan's blanket completely soaked? After saying that, Lu Yin even leaned on his nose and sniffed. an intoxicated expression immediately appeared on his face. Sister, it can't be wrong, the fragrance is the smell of this water. Sister Shenyuan, did the perfume on your body get spilled? This smell is so fragrant, I'll sleep next to you tonight. Smell this smell while I sleep, okay? Compared to Lu Yin's idiocy, Lu Shihua quickly realized that something was wrong. More than half of the blanket was completely soaked. Which brand of perfume could be so generous to give you so much water? Looking at this scene, it was similar to Lu Yin's habit of smelling bad when he was young. Sister Shenyuan, you can't be. Lu Shihua did not finish his words. He covered his mouth, pulled Lu Yin's ear, pulled his nose away from the soaked bedsheet, and directly pulled him to wash his face. F***ck. Jiyu Xuanyuan's beautiful face was still calm, but the nerves under her skin were constantly twitching, showing Jiyu Xuanyuan's incomparably complicated and F***ked up heart. Chapter 604. Under Jiyu Xuanyuan's forceful urging, Lu Yin and Lu Shihua had no choice but to leave their home. They waited outside for about 20 minutes before they were allowed to return. At this time, Guhan's blanket had been changed, and his wet clothes had been changed into a dress. This was all thanks to Juzi. Otherwise, with Jiyu Xuanyuan's body, she wouldn't have been able to do these things. If not for the fact that Juzi was her sword lady, Jiyu Shenyuan would never have allowed anyone else to touch her body, especially when she was in her female form. Jiyu Shenyuan couldn't accept it. She would rather be drenched than let anyone see her lower body. However, Juzi was her sword maiden, so it was a different story. After all, the sword maiden was born from her stomach, so she could barely be considered a piece of her flesh. However, what made Jiyu Shenyuan feel helpless was that the cold male clothing that she was originally wearing now had no choice but to change into a complete set of female clothing. This was because Guhan's dimensional pocket couldn't be opened, and there was only Lu Shihua's female clothing in the house. Although there was Lu Yin's male clothing, it was a child's clothing, and Jiyu Shenyuan couldn't wear it at all. As for why such a shameful bedwetting incident happened, this was a very normal thing. Regardless of whether it was a man or a woman, they all needed to pee. Guhan had already been awake for 5 days, and it was already a very impressive thing that he only peed for the first time on the 5th day. Moreover, because Guhan had lost control of his lower body, it was inevitable that he would unconsciously wet the bed. When the water was full, it would overflow by itself. After all, Guhan had been drinking nutrient solutions for the past few days. As for the problem with the fragrance, Guhan felt that it should be because of the 6 Revolutions Immortal Pill. The medicinal power of the 6 Revolutions Immortal Pill filled his body and hid in various organs. Urine originally gathered from various parts of the body, so it was not surprising that it carried a certain amount of medicinal power and fragrance of the 6 Revolutions Immortal Pill. Moreover, this fragrance was similar to the smell in the true martial hall, so it should be from the same source, which was the sect master of Ren School, Taishang Laojun. Actually, it was still okay to wet the bed. What made Jiyu Shenyuan feel a little creeped out? What if it was during constipation? Was he also in a state of incontinence? At the thought of this, Guhan wished that his body could recover immediately and escape from this life-threatening state. At the same time, Guhan was even more determined to pull Lu Shihua into the game. Blanket. Isn't this my blanket? As soon as Lu Yin returned home, he found that his beloved quilt was under Jiyu Xuanyuan's butt. He immediately wailed. The Lu family was poor, and they only had 3 blankets. One for Lu Yin, one for Lu Shihua, and the last one was used as a backup. It was already under Jiyu Xuanyuan's body, and it was giving off an endless fragrance. Jiyu Shenyuan wouldn't let himself be wronged, so he ordered Juzi to take out Lu Yin's blanket and put it on himself. Now, Jiyu Shenyuan had a blanket, but Lu Yin was in trouble. What are you doing? Isn't it just a blanket? You can sleep with me tonight. Just wait until I wash and dry the quilt tomorrow. You can just make do with it for one night, Lu Shihua said as she knocked on Lu Yin's head. All right, I promise that after tomorrow, everything will be fine. Jiyu Shenyuan felt a little guilty for snatching Lu Yin's blanket. She was an adult, the master of Yuzhong City's sword tower, and one of the 2 most powerful people in Yuzhong City. Yet, She actually wanted to snatch a poor child's blanket. It was really embarrassing. Shihua, we've wasted a lot of time just now. Hurry up and enter the game. After you finish the Yu King Go Jian Sword Instance Dungeon, I'll get someone to bring you, Jiyu Shenyuan said. Oh. Lu Shihua picked up the helmet excitedly. Just as he was about to put it on, he heard Jiyu Shenyuan say, "Oh right, don't be in a hurry to enter the game. Lu Yin, hurry up and log into the forum. Find the guide for the Yu King Go Jian Sword Instance Dungeon that Military Governor 250 posted and show it to your sister. Let her get as high a rating as possible," Jiyu Shenyuan said. Since she had Lu Shihua's help, she wanted to give Lu Shihua the best gaming experience and help her get as good a score as possible in the Instance Dungeon. Currently, the best guide for the Yu King Go Jian Sword Instance Dungeon was naturally her own guide. Ah! Unexpectedly, Lu Yin looked at Jiyu Shenyuan awkwardly. "Beautiful sister, don't you know? Military Governor's Guide costs $5 to read. I don't have a single cent in my account. I haven't even read it myself. Why don't you ask my sister to transfer me $5? I'll pay the reading fee." "What? What kind of stupid guide costs $5? I don't want to read it. I'm not even going to look at it." Lu Shihua refused without thinking when he heard that it would cost $5. What a joke. $5 was enough for her family to eat for a whole day. Why would she waste it on reading a guide? Well, this was probably the only time Jiyu Shenyuan hated herself for setting a fee to read her post. Jiyu Shenyuan had no choice but to pull Lu Shihua to her side. She taught Lu Shihua the key points of the Instance Dungeon step by step. With Military Governor personally explaining it, it was naturally very effective. Lu Shihua listened and nodded. She quickly expressed that she understood everything. She couldn't wait to enter the game. In the game, Guhan was drinking tea in Yuzhong City. Suddenly, a system confirmation sound came from Guhan's personal communicator. This meant that Guhan's friend request had been confirmed. "Your Military Governor? Jiyu Xuanyuan's friend?" Lu Shihua's voice came from the communicator. Lu Shihua's in-game name was Lu Family Shihua. It was a proper name that seemed to be very family-oriented. This was also the name that Lu Shihua told Guhan in advance before entering the game. Otherwise, Guhan wouldn't have been able to send this friend request. As for why Lu Shihua didn't send a friend request to the Military Governor, the reason was simple. It was because the Military Governor had once again blocked the friend request. "That's right. I'm Jiyu Xuanyuan's good friend. You're the Lu family sister who takes care of Shenyuan in real life, right? Shenyuan asked me to thank you properly. At the same time, I'll help you familiarize yourself with the things in the game. You can find me at Yuzhong City's Starbucks tea house. It's easy to find. It's on the first floor of the tallest building in Yuzhong City." Jiyu Han casually told Lu Shihua about Jiyu Xuanyuan's identity. Lu Shihua didn't suspect anything and quickly appeared in front of Starbucks. Guhan recognized Lu Shihua at a glance. She looked exactly the same as in real life. She was using her original appearance in the game. It was no wonder that Guhan couldn't recognize her. Guhan waved his hand. Lu Shihua sat next to Guhan. "How did you know that I'm Lu Shihua?" As soon as Lu Shihua sat down, she directly asked Guhan, a little confused. "You haven't seen me before, and I didn't show my name. Why did you greet me as soon as I appeared? It's as if you've seen me before." Lu Shihua's words made Guhan very surprised. Lu Shihua was right. He really shouldn't have known Lu Shihua. Him directly waving his hand was a big flaw. "What's wrong with me? If it were me in the past, I wouldn't have made such a childish mistake. Oh, Shenyuan described your appearance to me, so I recognized you at a glance." Guhan's expression didn't change as he perfunctorily brushed off the floor just now. "Is my appearance very unique? You can actually recognize me from the description," Lu Shihua complained. However, she didn't think too much about it. She then asked, "Okay, why didn't Shenyuan come herself? Why did she ask you to receive me? Shenyuan is in a very important instance dungeon with her team. She can't leave at all, so she can only ask me to help you. If you have any questions about this game, You can ask me. I'll tell you everything, Guhan said with a smile. This Lu Shihua would probably never see Lu Shenyuan in the game for the rest of her life. Military governor. Your name sounds so familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere. Lu Shihua began to struggle with Guhan's name again. Of course, she had heard of the name military governor. Just now, Lu Yin had mentioned that the strategy guide was written by the military governor. However, Lu Shihua had never cared about these words. For a moment, she couldn't remember where she had heard the name of the military governor. Is that so? I have a bit of fame in the game. You'll know me soon enough, Guhan said ambiguously. Then, he began to explain the general knowledge of the instance dungeons in the game to Lu Shihua, as well as the things that Lu Shihua needed to do later. After about half an hour, Guhan finally told Lu Shihua all the general knowledge that Lu Shihua needed to know. It couldn't be helped. Lu Shihua wasn't like a normal person. Before entering the game, she already knew everything about the game. Lu Shihua, on the other hand, had never planned to enter the game. Naturally, she knew nothing about the game. After explaining a lot of general knowledge, Guhan took a big sip of tea to moisten his throat. Next, you'll do as I say. Go to the Wudong Peak Instance Dungeon to train and master the basic fighting style of a swordsman. Oh yeah, in the Yu Wang Gojian Sword Instance Dungeon, which basic sword mistress did you choose? You mean the White Iron Sword, the Qingfeng Sword, and the 100 Refined Sword? Those 3 basic sword mistresses? Lu Shihua shook her head. None of them. I didn't get those 3 sword mistresses. None of them. The teacup in Guhan's hand trembled and the tea inside spilled out. Then, which sword did you get? Don't tell me you got the Yu Wang Gojian sword. Isn't that Kanzu's sword mistress? How did I get it? Lu Shihua took out a silver-white sword mistress with a sword hilt that looked like a pair of wings and placed it on the table. It's this sword. I got it from that settlement center. This is the 2-winged angel sword. Guhan recognized the origin of the sword at a glance. The tea in his hand spilled onto the table. Chapter 605. I don't know if everyone still remembers the Virgin of Jerusalem. The sword mistress in her hands was a series of sword mistresses from ancient swords to emperor swords. From ancient swords to emperor swords, they were foreordained swords, future swords, prophetic swords, canonical swords, angel swords, and angra swords. However, among the sword mistresses, the Green Church was not the only one with such a set. As one of the 3 major religions in the world, Christianity also had its own set of sword mistresses. From ancient swords to emperor swords, they were angel swords with 2 wings, also known as power angel swords with 4 wings, archangel swords with 6 wings, power angel swords with 8 wings, throne angel swords with 10 wings, blazing angel swords, and angel swords with 12 wings, emperor angel swords. However, unlike the Green Church's set of sword mistresses, which was all kept in Jerusalem, the Christian Church's set of angel swords was hidden in 4 different base cities. Apart from those with angel bloodline, it was impossible for others to synchronize this set of angel swords. Since ancient times, angel bloodline had been extremely rare. Moreover, it did not rely on reproduction. If a mother had angel bloodline, the possibility of a son having angel bloodline was the same as an ordinary person. Angel bloodline seemed to appear in a person's body at random. There was no pattern. Angel bloodline was extremely rare. There were less than 100 recorded people with angel bloodline, and the natural sword essence in their bodies was not high. Among these less than 100 people, only 3 sword-bearers were born. Other than one of these 3 sword-bearers who died at the hands of Yuan Ku, the other 2 grew into Jendi. They were High Saint Jendi of Yangjing City and Sky Saint Jendi of London City. High Saint Jendi was the first person with angel bloodline in recorded history. He was also the first Jendi to synchronize a set of angel swords. He was Kanzu's disciple. After Kanzu disappeared, he was known as the world's #1 Jendi. 600 years after High Sage Jendi, there was a second Jendi who was able to synchronize a complete set of angel sword ladies. That was Sky Sage Jendi. Because Heavenly Saint Jendi was from London, some of the angel swords that were originally stored in Yangjing were left in London. Later, when London was breached, some of the angel swords in London ended up in Yuzhong City and Moscow City. As a result, a complete set of angel swords was kept in the sword garret of the four cities. Yuzhong City only had the sword lady of the angel swords, the four-winged angel sword, which was commonly known as the archangel sword. The angelic sword synchronization was quite special. It had these two characteristics. First, the innate sword essence had to exceed 100 quarts. If the innate sword essence didn't reach 100 quarts, it would be useless. The angel sword wouldn't care about you. Second, as long as you had angel bloodline, the success rate of synchronizing the angel series sword lady was 100%. In other words, as long as a human with angel bloodline had more than 100 quarts of innate sword essence and fought hard all the way, not dying in the middle and growing smoothly, then he would definitely become an emperor sword level sword wielder, a supreme existence that could suppress the luck of mankind. The success rate of synchronizing the sword lady in the game was much higher than in reality. However, the angel sword, which relied on a special bloodline to synchronize, had the same settings in the game. Only people with angel bloodline could synchronize the angel series sword lady successfully. In other words, in reality, Lu Shihua had angel bloodline. What was more terrifying was that she was a child who had just turned 18 years old. It was impossible for her to have any acquired sword essence. She could actually synchronize the ancient sword level double-winged angel sword. Didn't this mean that Lu Shihua already had more than 100 innate quartz in reality? Thinking of this, Guhan became excited. Guhan suddenly realized that he had encountered a super treasure. If Lu Shihua became his person and he cultivated her well, after a few decades, when he and Lu Shihua, two emperor sword level sword wielder, were together, there would be places in the world that Guhan couldn't go. How did you get this sword lady? Guhan forcefully suppressed his emotions and asked as calmly as possible. It was at that settlement center. The cashier asked me to twist an egg. I twisted a golden egg and got this sword. I originally chose the white iron sword, but then the cashier said that I could choose one of these two swords to be my sword lady. I thought that since I got it from that egg, it should be stronger than the basic sword lady, so I chose this sword and synchronized it successfully. Lu Shihua frowned and asked, "What's wrong? Isn't this good? Did I make the wrong choice? Shouldn't I have changed it?" "No, you made the right choice. You made the right choice." Ji Yuhan looked at Lu Shihua suspiciously. Even if she did not know the details of the Seraph sword, she should know that the basic sword maidens were the worst of the worst. Besides a few ancient sword rank sword maidens, the rest were far superior to the basic sword maidens. How could she not even know this basic knowledge? "Miss Lu Shihua, have you never cared about the sword lady?" Guhan asked. "Why should I care about the sword lady?" Lu Shihua countered with a question. She then continued in a calm and indifferent tone, "I'm just an ordinary girl. 18 generations of my ancestors have never produced a sword wielder. I have no possibility of becoming a sword wielder. I'm just a poor girl. If I have time to care about the sword lady, I might as well find a job and earn more money. That way, my brother can eat well and wear warm clothes. That's enough. When my brother grows up, I'll find someone to marry and have a son and a daughter. If I'm lucky, I'll live the rest of my life in peace. That's my biggest dream. That's enough for me. Actually, you didn't have to teach me how to play games. This is my first time logging into a game, and it'll be my last." Lu Shihua stood up from the table. "Although this game world is quite attractive to me, it's just a game. It won't help me in real life. Let's stop here." After saying this, Lu Shihua prepared to leave the game. To her, this was not a world that belonged to her. "Wait. Miss Lu Shihua, please listen to me." Ji Yuhan pulled on Lu Shihua's hand, causing Lu Shihua's face to turn red. "Since you can synchronize with this angel sword, then you can definitely become an ancient sword wielder in real life. You should know how important it is to your life to become a sword lady. Your life will change tremendously. Do you want to be an ordinary person who gets bullied by others for the rest of your life? I can become a sword lady in real life." Lu Shihua was stunned. She stared at Guhan blankly for a while before she reacted. You liar, you're lying to me. Shen Yuan told me that it's much easier to become a sword lady in the game than in real life. Even if you have a famous sword or a spiritual sword in the game, you're just a useless ordinary person in real life. How can you be so sure that I can become a sword lady in real life? You big liar. Lu Shihua, think about it carefully. There's no need for me to lie to you. Guhan slammed his palm on the table. The loud sound made the entire tea house jump. Lu Shihua, I can't get anything from you. Why would I lie to you? You don't need to know why. All you need to know is that I can help you become a sword wielder, and not just an ancient sword wielder. In the future, you might even become a famous sword wielder, a spiritual sword wielder, an immortal sword wielder, or even an emperor sword wielder. It's all possible, as long as you trust me. Lu Shihua was shocked once again. Not to mention a famous sword or a spiritual sword, even the trashiest ancient sword lady was an unattainable dream for Lu Shihua. How do you plan to help me? Lu Shihua took a deep breath. Do I have to synchronize with this angel sword at the sword tower? It's true that you want to go to the sword tower, but it's not the sword tower in Yuzhang City, but the sword tower in Yangjing City. A smile appeared on Ji Yuhan's face. The double-winged angel sword is not in the sword pavilion in Yuzhang City. It is in the sword pavilion in Yangjing City, so you have to go to the sword pavilion in Yangjing City. Yangjing City. When Lu Shihua heard this, his face was filled with a bitter smile. Then forget it. I still haven't forgotten the disaster that happened 10 days ago. I saw the tragedy of Yuanshan eating people with my own eyes. I heard that Yuzhang City and Yangjing City are thousands of kilometers apart. I'm just an ordinary person. How can I get to Yangjing City? This is unrealistic. Who said it's unrealistic? Ji Yuhan knocked on the table. I'm also from Yuzhang City, and I'm planning to go to Yangjing City soon. I'm a famous swordsman in real life, so I should be able to protect you on your way to Yangjing City. Really? Lu Shihua's eyes shone with hope again. But very quickly, this hope was replaced by wariness. Why? Why do you want this kind of help? Even if you're a famous sword lady, it will be very troublesome to bring me to Yangjing City. Why are you doing this? My mother told me that there's no free lunch in the world. You must have some ulterior motives, right? Lu Shihua was a smart man. He was still so rational at such a critical moment. If Guhan said that he had no ulterior motives, it would be a complete lie to Lu Shihua. Lu Shihua would not believe him. So, at this time, Guhan had to tell him his ulterior motives. Yes, I have ulterior motives. Ji Yuhan nodded his head and said generously, first, to tell you the truth, Ji Shenyuan is my lover, she escaped from home because of me. You helped her, and she owes me a favor. I want to repay you. Second, you're a genius. When you grow up, you'll be my greatest helper. I hope that you can help me with some things. Of course, it won't be anything that goes against human justice. Otherwise, you have the right to reject me. Third, I want to take you as my disciple. With us master and disciple working together, we'll definitely achieve something great. Your Lu family will also be able to bring glory to your ancestors and become one of those emperor sword ladies. Guhan turned around and stared straight into Lu Shihua's eyes. Are you willing? If not, we'll pretend we've never met, and I won't try to persuade you anymore. Although geniuses like you are rare, it's not impossible to find them. Lu Shihua bit his lips and hesitated for a while. Finally, he said, I believe Miss Shenyuan. But you have to promise me that I'll only take you as my master when I become an ancient sword lady. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Deal. Guhan bumped his personal terminal against Lu Shihua's. Here's 100,000 renminbi. Don't misunderstand, it's not for you. It's for Shenyuan. She lost her personal terminal, and I can't give it to her. I heard that she's not having a good time at your place. This money is for you to use to improve her life, understand? Chapter 606. From the second day onwards, Ji Shuanyuan's treatment was obviously better. The Lu family bought a lot of brand new furniture, such as a brand new bed, a brand new blanket, a brand new gaming helmet, and a brand new set of super diapers. These were all bought by Jiyu Xuanyuan's request to Lu Shihua, especially the last set of super diapers, which used a brand new technology and was specially designed for paralyzed patients. The bottom of the diapers was connected to a small public dimensional space. As long as the diapers were worn, all the feces and urine would automatically enter the dimensional space. It was simply a super good thing for high-level paraplegic patients. Just this diapers alone cost half of the 100,000 renminbi, which was 50,000 renminbi. Including some other miscellaneous things, the 100,000 renminbi was actually almost spent. Although the family bought a lot of new things, these new things were all used on Jiyu Shenyuan. She and her brother Lu Yin were still sleeping on their old creaking bed, covered with old bedding that was already full of patches. If it wasn't for Jiyu Shenyuan forcing them to eat the same things as her, she wouldn't eat at all. They probably wouldn't even have a bite of those roasted chicken, pork, and other good dishes that Lu Shihua bought. Shihua, your master has already told me that from now on, he wants you to not go out and do anything. You have to enter the game with me and receive his basic training. He said that you have amazing potential, but you haven't received basic sword wielder training, so he wants to teach you a lot of things so that you can enter the game incomparably, Jiyu Shenyuan said calmly. I'm not going. Yesterday, the troop sent me a message saying that it's not easy to have a performance today. I can earn 100 renminbi, so I have to perform in the day and enter the game at night. Lu Shihua shook her head and said, 100 renminbi? Jiyu Shenyuan shook her head. This 100 renminbi can be deducted from my 100,000 renminbi. Consider it as me buying your time for him. I don't need any extra charity. Lu Shihua coldly snorted, as if Jiyu Xuanyuan's words had hurt her self-esteem. She picked up her small bag and left the room. Jiyu Xuanyuan's body did not move at all. She could only stare blankly as Lu Shihua left. This idiot. Did she understand? She is already destined to be the sword wielder. The most important thing now is to raise her own strength. Jiyu Xian was extremely angry. She realized that Lu Shihua was really hard to control. Beautiful sister. What sword bearer are you talking about? Did my sister coordinate a sword maiden in the game? How was her game? Tell me about it. Lu Yin moved closer to Jiyu Xuanyuan's side and rubbed the imitation velvet blanket under Guhan's buttocks, revealing an intoxicated expression. The poor child never knew that the original bedding was so soft and comfortable. Your sister is a genius, Lu Yin. You will soon leave this world, as long as my body returns to normal. Jiyu Shenyuan said as she stroked Lu Yin's head. Big beautiful sister, who exactly are you? Why are you acting so mysterious? Are you a descendant of the legendary Jendi clan? Like the heaven-shrouding family or something? Lu Yin asked timidly. After spending so much time together, even a young boy like Lu Yin realized that Jiyu Shenyuan was not ordinary. This beautiful big sister always had a monstrous arrogance on her, just like those high and mighty swordsmen in reality. Jendi clan? Not now, but maybe in the future. Jiyu Shenyuan smiled. Oh right, what is your sister performing in the acrobatic troupe? Tell me about it. I don't know either. My sister never lets me go to her performances. She found out that I went near the place where they perform and beat me up. I don't dare to ask anymore. Lu Yin said with a lingering fear, but he didn't know that this aroused Guhan's curiosity. What was this Lu Shihua performing? She actually didn't even let her brother see it. Juzi. Juzi. Jiyu Shenyuan began to call Juzi's name. After a while, Juzi ran from the computer to Jiyu Xuanyuan's side. Master, what can I do for you? Forget it, we'll talk about it tomorrow. You can't catch up now. Jiyu Shenyuan sighed, put on a brand new game helmet, and entered the game. Today was the second day of the 8-city sword tournament, and also the first day of the semifinals for the sword wielder. A total of 1,024 sword-bearers from the 64 regions had entered the semi-finals. They would proceed in the same one-on-one elimination format. After 7 rounds, the top 8 would be decided, and then it would be time for the finals. However, the finals were not the last step of the 8-city sword among 8 cities tournament. After the finals, there was the highly anticipated challenge match. As the top 3 players of their level, they were qualified to challenge the sword-bearers of a higher level. It was the climax of the entire 8-city Sword Among 8 Cities tournament. The truly talented players would gain great attention in the challenge match and become the idols of other players. Of course, the normal players were more concerned about the rewards of the 8-city Sword tournament. The rewards for each competition were divided into many tiers. Taking the treasure sword grade as an example, other than participating in the semifinals, the players who failed in the preliminaries would receive 5 different levels of rewards according to the number of kills they had. Among them, the best reward was a bottle of Sword Essence oral solution with 50 quarks of Sword Essence and a white twisted egg. The rewards for entering the semi-finals were different. At the very least, there would be 100 quarks of Sword Essence oral fluid and a blue twisted egg. If one entered the top 8, there would be at least 1,000 quarks of Sword Essence oral fluid and a purple twisted egg. If one was in first place, there would be a bottle of 5,000 quarks of Sword Essence oral fluid and a golden twisted egg. As long as Guhan drank the 5,000 quarks of Sword Essence oral fluid, Guhan's Sword Essence in reality would reach 20,000 quarks. Then, he would be more confident in participating in the 8 Academy tournament in 3 months. Yes, Guhan seemed to have been involved in some kind of martial arts tournament for the past 2 months. First, it was the 8-city sword tournament in the game, and then it was the 8 Academy tournament in reality. All of them were about fighting. Originally, the 8 Academy tournament was to be held next month. However, due to the disaster in Yuzhang City, the General Sword Committee decided to postpone the 8 Academy tournament for 2 months until Yuzhang University regained its order. Fortunately, it was postponed for 3 months. Otherwise, if Guhan participated in the 8 Academy tournament in his current state, Guhan would probably have to give up. The semi-finals of the 8-city sword tournament would start at 11 o'clock the next morning. On the first day, there would be a match at 11 o'clock, 13 o'clock, and 15 o'clock. On the second day, there would be 3 matches at the same time. On the third day, each player would only have 1 match, but the time was uncertain. In other words, each player's 7 matches would end in the semi-finals within 3 days. The competition schedule was not very tight. After all, there was a 2-hour interval between each match. The entrance to the semi-finals was not like the preliminaries, which could be entered at any time and anywhere. For the semi-finals, the contestants had to take the initiative to go to the Grand Dueling Arena in the west of Yuzhang City to register and draw lots. When Guhan arrived at the Grand Dueling Arena with King Yu, Guhan was surprised to find that there were 31 people waiting at the entrance of the arena. When they saw Guhan, they immediately greeted him. "Sir Military Governor." The 31 people bowed to Guhan and then knelt on one knee in front of Guhan, immediately attracting everyone's attention. "What are you guys doing?" Although Guhan did not recognize all 31 people, he recognized 5 of them. They were the 4 women and 1 man who formed the fleet with him in the preliminaries. "Sir Military Governor, you left in a hurry yesterday, so we didn't have time to thank you. That's why we've decided to come here and wait for you today, just to say thank you." The leader, Commander Orange Zhangzong, said emotionally, "Without your leadership and help, our Area 64 would definitely be at the bottom of the preliminaries. We wouldn't even be able to keep those 16 spots. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today." "That's right, Sir Military Governor." Another swordsman that the military governor did not recognize was also very emotional. "Sir, my final ranking was 27th. I originally did not qualify for the semifinals, but thanks to you, not only did you get the basic spots for the semifinals, but you also obtained 16 additional spots, allowing me to enter the semifinals. You are our great benefactor. Sir Military Governor, do you know that you have created history that has never happened before? You allowed all the remaining players in a region to enter the semifinals. This is the first time in the history of the Sword Among 8 Cities tournament. We have to thank you. Please accept our gratitude." After saying that, the 31 players cupped their fists at the same time. "Sir Military Governor, we will remember your kindness. If you need any help in the future, we will not hesitate to help you." The scene that happened in the Grand Duel Arena deeply shocked all the surrounding players. Soon, this video was uploaded to the forum and became one of the highlights of the game forum in the future. It also made the players in the forum feel sad and happy. Most of the military governor's fans were happy and delighted. This scene once again proved the greatness of their idol, the military governor. Military governor was unrivaled. They could not help but cheer, "Military governor is great," and shouted that this was a victory that belonged to the military governor. The sad ones were the players in Area 62 and Area 64. It was understandable that the players in Area 62 were sad because they were the last. If it was not for the counterattack of the military governor, the last place would be Area 64. Area 63 could at least hold on to 16 spots for the semifinals. Especially the players in the top 16 in Area 62, they were the ones who suffered the most. Some of them hated the military governor to the point of gnashing their teeth. So why did the people in Area 64 also hate the military governor? Didn't all the players in Area 64 enter the semifinals? Did you forget that there were some unlucky people in Area 64 who voluntarily withdrew from the preliminaries? For example, the second place. When these guys who withdrew from the competition because they felt that there was no hope of winning suddenly found out that Area 64 entered the semifinals as the first place, what were the expressions of these players? It was said that the second place quit the game and never logged in again. Chapter 607. Just press your personal terminal here. At the entrance of the Grand Dueling Arena, a few NPCs were handling matters regarding the levels. Guhan pressed his personal terminal on the table, and Guhan's match information was displayed on the table. Player, Military Governor. Grade, Treasured Sword. Preliminary Round Area, Area 64. Area Rank, First. Preliminary Kill Points, 34560. Overall Rank, First. Alright, please draw a lot from this box. The NPC took out another brocade box. This was the lot drawing ceremony for the semifinals. According to the rules, the first place of each area was a seeded player. Their opponent would only be the last place in each area. As for the special Area 64, which had 32 slots, the first and second place would also enjoy seeded status. Guhan was the first place, so his opponent would definitely be the 16th place in the other areas. The lot drawing ceremony was originally not a big deal. The opponents decided by the system were always randomly selected. However, to make the semifinals more interesting, the system added a lot drawing ceremony. Guhan's hand casually drew a lot from the brocade box and drew out a piece of paper with the number 61 written on it. This meant that Guhan's first opponent would be the 16th place player from Area 61. Dear sword-wielding players, welcome to the live broadcast of the 20th 8-City Sword Duel semifinals. You are now watching the live broadcast of the Treasured Sword Tier semifinals. I am your most adorable commentator, Little Rice Doll, said a slightly plump middle-aged man in a traditional Chinese suit with a face full of smiles. Hello everyone, I'm Miss, said a cute and innocent beauty. The two of them were the commentators in charge of commentating the entire semi-finals of the Treasured Sword grade competition. Although the competition was held in the Grand Dueling Arena, players didn't need to watch the competition from the spectator stands like they did before the apocalypse. Players could click any button from anywhere and enter the 8-City Sword Duels live broadcast room to watch the competition through the live broadcast. What was a live broadcast? For example, after a player entered the live broadcast room, he sat on a sofa. Opposite him were two commentators, one male and one female, who were also sitting on the sofa and talking non-stop. It felt as if the two commentators were really sitting opposite him and talking to him alone. But in fact, the two commentators were talking to all the players. You couldn't interact with them at all. You could only listen to them. Of course, if a player felt lonely watching a livestream alone, they could invite their friends into the livestream room and watch the livestream together. Everything would be as real as if it were happening in the real world. Hey, did you know that top lane, Miss? This is my third time commentating for the sword group of the 8-City Sword Duel, but this is the first time I've ever been so excited, Little Rice Doll said. Why? It was Miss's first time commentating on the 8-City Sword tournament. With her lack of experience, she could only be a qualified supporter. Because in the previous two competitions, The viewership ratings for our sword groups competition were never above 5%. We didn't even have 4 million concurrent viewers. But this time, according to the latest data, the number of viewers for the sword groups competition has exceeded 24 million, reaching a viewership rating of 30%. We are ranked second out of all the 5 groups. How can I not be excited? At this point, the little rice doll actually shed a few tears. This male commentator's excitement was not fake, but his true feelings. Other than the Emperor Sword Groups competition, which didn't have any preliminaries or semifinals and directly went to the finals, the other groups all started their semifinals at the same time. Thus, players had to choose one of the 5 groups to watch. The Legend of the Sword and Fairy division had always been the favorite of the players. The reason was simple. The matches of the Legend of the Sword and Fairy division were too glamorous. Various kinds of dazzling abilities emerged one after another, and the shaking of the earth was a common occurrence. Just like how everyone loved American blockbusters, all the players naturally loved to watch the Legend of the Sword and Fairy division. As a result, the viewership ratings for the other groups were much lower. The Sword group had always been competing with the Ancient Sword group for the lowest viewership ratings. Who would have thought that they would be ranked second today? I understand now. It must be because the military governor is competing in our Sword group, right? The top lane miss clapped her hands, and 2 stars appeared in her eyes. Actually, I'm also a fan of the military governor. I really want to watch the great military governor's competition now. Don't worry, the competition will start in 30 seconds. When the time comes, we will lead everyone to the military governor's arena. The little rice doll paused for a moment. Dear players, I have to inform you that the main route of the live stream is now connected to the first seed of the Sword group, the military governor's arena. If you don't want to watch the military governor's competition, you can use the remote control device beside you to enter the number of the contestant you want to watch, 0 plus region code plus contestant ranking. Then, you will be able to enter the contestants' arena. For example, if you want to watch the 10th region's first place match, you can enter 01001 to watch the match. Thank you for your cooperation. As soon as the commentator finished speaking, the style of the live stream changed. The live stream moved to the side of an arena, and the spectators sat closest to the arena. They could watch the entire competition from the closest distance. Moreover, if necessary, the players could also view the forum on the spot. They could watch the competition and browse the forum at the same time. At that moment, the 2 contestants appeared on the arena. One was the highly anticipated military governor, and the other was the chubby man. System notification: the competition is about to begin. Player military governor, please select the map. It would be too boring if the competition was only held on a monotonous arena. Therefore, before the competition began, the system would allow the player with the higher ranking to select the map. Of course, Guhan did not care about a map. Therefore, he chose the option at the top. Sports field. In the next second, the arena turned into a sports field that was 100 meters long and wide. There were plastic tracks on both sides, and the ground was also cement. It was no different from a normal sports field in a school. System notification: randomly selecting the competition mode. Mode confirmed. Sword duel mode. The system continued to broadcast. There were many modes in the competition that were randomly selected. The sword duel mode was one of the most common modes. Simply put, the sword wielder would let his sword ladies fight one by one, and they were not allowed to leave the arena in the middle. Once the sword ladies' shields were broken, they would lose the ability to fight and would not be able to enter the arena again. Once all the sword ladies' shields were broken, the sword wielder would naturally lose. The competition will begin in 10 seconds. All players, please prepare yourselves. I am military governor, the sword wielder of the sword tier. I am the sword wielder of the sword tier, the sword wielder of the sword tier. I am the sword wielder of the ancient sword tier, the Qingpin sword, and I have fought against you. From now on, the grudge between us shall be settled, and we shall live up to the glory of mankind. The system notified them that there were still 10 seconds left. They did not want them to just prepare themselves and not speak. At this time, they needed to introduce themselves to each other. This was the basic etiquette of the competition. When Guhan and Hui Jian fought for the Heavenly Sword's keepsake, they also used this etiquette. I am Sigma, the sword wielder of the sword tier. I am the sword wielder of the sword tier, the yin and yang sword, and I have fought against you. Ancient sword rank sword maiden, blue rain sword, fought with you, and from now on, all debts of gratitude and grudges will be settled. With our lives, we will bring glory to the human race and not let down the future generations. It was obvious that Sigma was very impatient with reading out these programmed lines. After he finished speaking, he pointed at Jiu Han's nose and scolded, "Commander, you're just an opportunistic piece of trash. You only know how to use your little tricks. What kind of ability is that? Give my brother back his quota." The swordsman named Sigma yelled, immediately drawing the ire of the spectating players. Everyone posted posts on the forums to denounce this shameless braggart. "You piece of trash. How dare you call the military governor a piece of trash? I'll kill him. Count me in. I'm going to kill him too. Well, I'm the only one who cares. How did the military governor owe his brother a slot?" The two commentators also began to discuss. "I say, Senior Doll, take a guess. How did the military governor steal his brother's slot? Isn't it simple? This Sigma is from District 61, so his brother might be from District 62. District 62 is the last place, so all of its slots have been taken away. In a sense, Mr. Sigma's brother was really screwed over by the military governor. Ahum, as usual, let's talk about the sword maidens of both sides." Little Rice Doll continued, "First, we'll talk about Sigma's sword maiden yin-yang sword. It's a Confucian sword maiden with excellent defense. It can use its ultimate skill, the yin-yang sword array, to form a defensive barrier that lasts for 1 minute. It can withstand attacks 10 times more than what it can withstand. In my opinion, Sigma can at least last 1 minute against the military governor's heaven-reliant sword. System notification. Sword maiden yin-yang sword's shield has been shattered. Player has been eliminated from battle." Poor Little Rice Doll was instantly slapped in the face. Before he could finish his sentence, the yin-yang sword's shield had been shattered, let alone 1 minute. Under the gazes of tens of millions of players, as soon as the countdown ended, Guhan appeared behind the yin-yang sword like a ghost. With just one slash, the energy of the yin-yang sword's shield had been reduced by more than half. The yin and yang sword was startled and immediately used its big move, the yin and yang sword formation, to cast a protective cover on itself that could last for 1 minute, which was 10 times its defensive power. Then, Jiu Han didn't use any moves. He just slashed at the protective shield with his sword. In less than 6 seconds, the protective shield, which was said to have increased its defensive power by 10 times, was forcefully destroyed by the Admiral's slash. "I surrender." Sigma looked like a deflated inflatable doll when it saw that its sword mistress, which specialized in defense, was defeated in less than 10 seconds. It didn't even have the chance to use its ancient sword mistress before it could even use its sword mistress. Chapter 608. Although there were still 2 more matches, they were boring to watch. The players only saw Guhan's silhouette flash by and his opponent's sword maidens were all destroyed. There was no point in watching the match at all. Therefore, other than a few loyal fans of the military governor, most of the players said that there was no suspense in the first place of the sword division. They should just watch the special effects film, The Legend of the Sword and Fairy Division. As a result, less than 3 million people were left of the 30 million people, which was even less than before the existence of the Admiral. Later on, everyone analyzed that it was probably because the first place of the sword division was already set to be the military governor's. There was no suspense anymore, so the players who were originally watching the sword division would definitely go and watch the other divisions that were more suspenseful. Therefore, the number of people who were watching the sword division dropped. This caused the cheerful Little Rice Doll's expression to turn cold, and he smiled bitterly. At the end of the live broadcast, the Little Rice Doll said a famous saying that would go down in history: military governor, success or failure. When the Little Rice Doll said this, coupled with the illusion of the military governor, it instantly became popular all over the world. This was because this world had lost the saying that success or failure was due to Xiao He. Success or failure was due to the military governor, success or failure was due to the military governor. It became a common saying among humans in the future. Even if someone found the original version in the ruins, because no one cared about it, it became a conclusion in an academic paper. Other than those who studied medieval history, no one knew the truth. It was worth mentioning that the little rice doll was also remembered by the later generations because of this saying. It was also hung on the walls of many schools, becoming a part of the army of famous sayings. It was truly a cause for celebration. When Guhan logged out of the game again, he was surprised to find that Lu Shihua was already back. It was not even 4 o'clock in the afternoon. According to Lu Shihua's movement pattern, she would usually be back after 5 o'clock. Today, she was back before 4 o'clock. This was unprecedented news. However, Jiyu Shenyuan noticed that Lu Shihua's face didn't look too good. There were even faint traces of tears on his face. His shoulders were shivering as if he had encountered something very terrifying. Shihua, did someone bully you? Jiyu Shenyuan opened her mouth and asked. Her voice was filled with coldness. Lu Shihua was already her disciple. She could bully her own disciple as she pleased, but no one else could. What does it have to do with you? Lu Shihua probably still remembered what happened in the morning. He rolled his eyes at Jiyu Shenyuan in annoyance and shrank into a corner of the room where Jiyu Shenyuan could not see. Lu Yin, what's going on? Jiyu Shenyuan glared at Lu Yin, who had been watching the entire scene unfold. Big beautiful sister, don't ask me, I don't know either. That was the first thing you said when you came back. Lu Yin stuck out his tongue and picked up a gaming helmet from the bed. I went to deliver the helmet to Brother Liu from next door. We agreed that I must give it to him before 5 o'clock this afternoon. Lu Yin picked up the gaming helmet that Lu Shihua had used yesterday and ran out. This was the helmet that Lu Yin had promised to sell to his neighbor. As for Lu Shihua, he would use the old helmet that Jiyu Shenyuan had used before. Jiyu Shenyuan already had a new one. After Lu Yin left, the room became silent. Lu Shihua didn't want to talk, and Jiyu Shenyuan was also too lazy to talk. Jiyu Shenyuan was silently sensing her own body. These few days, she could already faintly feel the meridians in her body. She could also move her fingers slightly. According to Guhan's estimation, if she continued to recover at this speed, she would be able to recover the basic ability to move in a month at the latest. Strange, where did Lu Yin go? He still hasn't returned. That stinky brat couldn't have slipped away to play again, right? The Liu's house wasn't far from the Lu's house. They could walk back and forth in 5 minutes. However, a full 20 minutes had passed, and Lu Yin still hadn't returned. Lu Shihua naturally thought that Lu Yin must have gone somewhere to play. This made Lu Shihua's heart even more miserable. It was fine if he was bullied outside, and he was despised by Jiyu Shenyuan at home. But his own younger brother was so heartless. This made Lu Shihua completely unable to stand it. I'm going to catch him and bring him back. Lu Shihua stood up from the corner and prepared to go look for Lu Yin. However, at this time, the originally closed door was suddenly forcefully opened. Then, a figure flew in from outside the door and landed heavily on the ground, letting out a mournful cry. Lu Shihua couldn't be more familiar with this voice. Besides his own younger brother, who else could it be? When he saw Lu Yin's condition clearly, a huge rage burst forth from Lu Shihua's heart. His own little brother, who was a little clumsy, playful, and active, was now covered in wounds. Blood was constantly dripping from the corners of his mouth, and his eyes were tightly shut. Blood was also flowing out from the corners of his eyes. There were even more wounds on his body, especially the one on his arm, which stretched from his wrist all the way to his shoulder. If it wasn't for the fact that the person who injured Lu Yin had deliberately avoided his arteries, Lu Yin might have already died from the blood loss and met the king of hell. Yo, little sister, nice to meet you. Aren't you very good at running away? How did I still manage to find you? Another 4 or 5 people walked in from the door. Each of these people had a sword on their body, and their bodies were stained with blood. It was obvious that they were the ones who injured Lu Yin. It's you. Lu Shihua's angry voice carried a trace of fear. It's you who injured my brother. If you have any problems, come at me. Why did you treat my brother like this? We had no choice. We also wanted to settle things peacefully. Who knew that your brother wanted to be a hero, and would rather die than speak? So, we had to use some small tricks. The leader of the group, a man with a strange aura and a vicious aura, said, "All right, we've found you. Let's go, come with me. As long as you follow that lord, you'll have a good life in the future. Why do you have to suffer in this smelly little house? I'm doing this for your own good." The person who came said that it was for Lu Shihua's good, as if it was the truth. Unfortunately, Lu Shihua didn't listen to this person at all. All her thoughts were on her brother. At this time, Lu Yin was already very weak. Because he had lost a lot of blood, it was very difficult for him to even speak. "Sister, my eyes hurt so much pain. It hurts when I move. Sister, am I blind?" The weak Lu Yin said miserably. Looking at the blood spreading from the corner of his eyes to his chin, it was obvious that Lu Yin's eyes were most likely damaged. "It's all right. Little Yin, your eyes are fine." Lu Shihua hugged Lu Yin in her arms. She couldn't hold back her tears and they flowed down continuously. "Little brother, don't believe your sister's words. Your eyes are finished. I was the one who cut off your eyeballs with my own hands. I guarantee that your eyes are done for. Actually, it's not bad for you to be blind for the rest of your life," the man said with a cruel smile. Ah. Lu Yin suddenly let out a heart-wrenching howl. As a 14-year-old child who was still alive and kicking, how could he accept the fact that he was blind? He could only use his own howl to express the fear and pain in his heart. After letting out that howl, Lu Yin used up the last of his strength. His head tilted to the side as he silently fainted. Little Yin. Lu Shihua frantically shook Lu Yin, who was in her arms. She was so ruthless. She hated herself for going out today. Why didn't she listen to Jiyu Shenyuan and stay at home to play games? That way, everything that happened today wouldn't have happened. She really hated to the point that she was about to go crazy. "You bastard, I'm going to kill you." Lu Shihua threw Lu Yin on the ground, took out an iron rod from the pile of garbage beside him, and smashed it towards the man's head. "Hey, if you can hit me, I'll change my surname to yours." The man pulled out his sword and knocked the metal rod in Lu Shihua's hand away. Then, he used the hilt of the sword to hit Lu Shihua's lower abdomen, sending her flying back. Then, he put the sword back into his scabbard. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. Jiyu Shenyuan, who was watching at the side, also nodded slightly. This man's swordsmanship was not bad. He already had the demeanor of a master. If given time, he might become an outstanding sword master. Thinking of this, Jiyu Shenyuan shook her head in pity. His originally good swordsmanship was actually used to do such a heinous thing. Moreover, the person he hurt was his own disciple. This guy wouldn't live for another month. Jiyu Shenyuan directly sentenced this person to death in her heart. "Little sister, I'm not called a bastard. I'm called Wang Zihao." Wang Zihao said with a smile. "Don't be so agitated. Actually, your brother might not necessarily be blind in his next life. He can still be saved." "What did you say? You can really save my brother?" Lu Shihua felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. She raised her head and stared at Wang Zihao. Her eyes were filled with hope and despair. She had already guessed what Wang Zihao was going to threaten her with next. Of course. Now that medical technology is so advanced, even if you only have a head left, it can still restore your body, let alone a pair of eyes. Wang Zihao laughed even more happily. This was a routine that he had tried every time. In his opinion, this woman had already fallen into his control. "As long as you obey that lord, I guarantee that your brother will receive the most perfect treatment. In just one day, he will be able to open his eyes again and see this beautiful world. Okay. I promise you." Lu Shihua had nowhere else to go. Being forced to this point, she no longer had any other choice. Suddenly, at this time, she thought of the military governor who she had only spent one night with in the game. If only he was here. He must have the ability to save me. I still want to be his disciple. Lu Shihua thought sadly in her heart. She slowly stood up and approached Wang Zihao step by step. Sigh, if I were you, I would never believe this guy. At this time, a faint and perfect female voice came from the mouth of a patient lying on the bed that Wang Zihao did not pay attention to. It will cost at least 1.2 million to cure Lu Yin's eyes. But for a trafficker like him, he will at most earn a few 100,000. Why would he lose 1 million to save Lu Yin's eyes? Chapter 609. Oh, so there are 2 women hidden here. Wang Zihao's plan was exposed, but he wasn't angry. Instead, he looked at Jiyu Shenyuan lying on the bed with great interest. Juzi was already guarding Jiyu Xuanyuan's side. Although he couldn't see the appearance of the person lying on the bed clearly because of the angle, but the Juzi standing next to her was a genuine beauty, the kind that belonged to 1 in a million. TSK, my luck today is really good. I thought I only made 1 deal, but I didn't expect to make 2 deals. Very good. Very good. Wang Zihao's face was full of a sinister smile. It seemed that he had already regarded Juzi as his own. Wang Zihao, is what Shenyuan said true? On the other side, Lu Shihua stood up angrily. Can you cure my brother's eyes or not? Hey, how can you be so stupid? Didn't this lady say that I can only earn 100,000 yuan from you, but to cure your brother I need 1.2 million yuan? Don't tell me you still don't know this. Wang Zihao seemed to be too lazy to hide it anymore, so he turned to Jiyu Shenyuan who was lying on the bed and asked, but I'm very curious, although this Wang Zihao's business is not unique, it can still be considered a secret. How does this young lady know this Wang Zihao's price? This is not something that ordinary little girls should know. What's so strange about this? With Lu Shihua's appearance, he can only be sold for 100,000 yuan at most. Jiyu Shenyuan sneered, but her words almost made Lu Shihua spit out a mouthful of old blood. What did she mean by his appearance was sold for 100,000 yuan at most? Don't look down on people like that. However, what Jiyu Shenyuan said was also the truth. Because Lu Shihua's appearance was not considered to be extremely beautiful, she was only above average. If she was placed in a class, she might be the class flower or something. But in Yuzhang City, she was a commodity that could be easily found. As for why I know this truth, the reason is very simple. The more humans there are in the world, the more beasts there will be. With the beasts, how could there be fewer lice on their bodies? Jiyu Shenyuan proudly said. What did you say? When the people behind Wang Zihao heard Jiyu Shenyuan compare them to lice, they immediately became angry. They pulled out their swords and were about to teach Jiyu Shenyuan a lesson, but they were stopped by Wang Zihao. This young lady is right. What a good analogy. Lice on a beast. It's the first time I've heard such a vivid analogy. It's a good one. What a wonderful metaphor. Wang Zihao didn't seem to be angry. Instead, his face was full of smiles. Since Miss knows so clearly, then Zihao would like to invite Miss to my house. Zihao has a lot of friends, and many of them like Miss's style. She's cold and elegant, and has a monstrous arrogance. She's like a wild horse that's hard to tame. Who knows how much fun it is to ride her? Come on. You guys, go and invite this young lady down. I want to see how much this young lady can be sold for. Wang Zihao's face was already full of smiles. His 3 subordinates chuckled and rushed to the bedside, preparing to pull Jiyu Shenyuan down. Stop. You're not allowed to touch her. She's a cripple. She can't move anywhere except her mouth. She's worthless. Lu Shihua immediately blocked Jiyu Xuanyuan's bedside. Of course, it was useless. The few subordinates slapped Lu Shihua's face. The huge force directly sent Lu Shihua flying. Lu Shihua suffered such a heavy blow. His entire head felt like it was going to explode. He constantly curled up on the ground in pain. He looked like a struggling poisonous snake. Miss, come with us. The 3 subordinates smiled lewdly as they walked to Jiyu Xuanyuan's bedside. But before they could finish, the 3 of them were collectively stunned. They stood there in a daze, as if time had stopped. You guys. What are you doing? Didn't you hear what I said? Wang Zihao's face turned cold. Could it be that something went wrong? Was there an incredible person here? No. Boss. You'd better come and see for yourself. We can't bear to do it. One of the subordinates stuttered. What is this? What do you mean we can't bear to do it? Even someone as treacherous and vicious as Wang Zihao didn't know what his subordinates meant. He could only coldly snort. Then, he personally walked to Jiyu Xuanyuan's bedside. With just a glance, he was completely stunned like his subordinates. There's actually such a beautiful woman in this world. Wang Zihao only took a glance at Jiyu Shenyuan and felt as if his soul had been hooked by Jiyu Shenyuan. Too beautiful. This woman is too beautiful. He, Wang Zihao, has been in this business for almost 10 years. In these 10 years, what kind of beautiful woman hasn't he seen? Even the courtesan slave in the underground auction every year, who was known to be extremely beautiful and 1 in 10 million, he, Wang Zihao, has also seen them. Although Wang Zihao felt that these beauties were indeed beautiful, it was only the word beautiful. If they fell into Wang Zihao's hands, Wang Zihao would not hesitate to sell them for a good price. He wouldn't even touch their bodies. If he touched them, it would lower their value. But this woman in front of him actually made Wang Zihao have the idea of not selling her for the first time. Wang Zihao's first thought was actually to take this woman into his own room and pamper her for the rest of her life. Other men wouldn't even be allowed to look at her. Wang Zihao's body felt that it was better not to do this business. From now on, as long as he stayed with this woman and lived a stable life, he wouldn't have any regrets in his life. No. What's going on in my head? Wang Zihao shook his head and immediately recovered from his delusion. But looking at Jiyu Xuanyuan's face, he revealed an ecstatic expression. Unexpected harvest. Unexpected harvest. Wang Zihao laughed wildly. His previous calm and gloomy persona seemed to have collapsed at this moment. I thought this trip was just to earn some pocket money. I didn't expect to find such a fat sheep. 10 million. No, even if it's 100 million, those big shots will still fight to buy you. It seems that this year's courtesan is going to be sold from my, Wang Zihao's, hand. Wang Zihao was actually an extremely cautious person. Even if he wanted to capture Lu Shihua, he had to investigate for a while. He confirmed that the Lu family had been poor for more than 10 generations and didn't have any background at all before he made his move. Under normal circumstances, for a woman like Jiyu Shenyuan who was full of arrogance and temperament, one could tell that her identity was extraordinary. Wang Zihao would definitely investigate clearly and confirm that there was no background that he couldn't deal with before making his move. How could it be like now, when he saw Jiyu Xuanyuan's hot head, he couldn't help but want to snatch her away? Of course, Wang Zihao himself didn't notice this, and Jiyu Shenyuan herself didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't until later that she discovered this, but by that time it was already too late. A mistake that couldn't be considered a mistake had already happened. Hearing Wang Zihao's arrogant words, especially when she heard that Wang Zihao had already begun to evaluate her worth, Jiyu Xuanyuan's heart was filled with anger. She didn't want to continue talking to Wang Zihao like this anymore. She turned her head and said to Juzi, "Break all their limbs for me." "Yes, master." Juzi nodded obediently, then turned around and said to Wang Zihao and the others, "Stand there and don't move. Master told me to break all your limbs." "Juzi is very fast, it won't be very painful." "You crazy woman, what nonsense are you spouting? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." One of Wang Zihao's subordinates shouted and raised his hand to give Juzi a slap. However, there wasn't the crisp sound of the slap that he had imagined. Instead, there was a crisp sound of bones breaking. Wang Zihao's subordinate only felt as if his arm had hit a hard building. The bones in his entire hand were smashed, and his right hand was completely useless. The subordinate raised his head and saw Juzi's cold eyes staring at him as if she was looking at a dead person. "Master told me to break all their limbs." The advice that sounded like a joke to his ears just now once again rang in his mind. The fear in his heart surged out instinctively, and he turned around and prepared to start running. "You're not allowed to leave." Juzi loyally carried out Guhan's order. She had to break all of these people's limbs. Juzi's figure was like a ghost. The others didn't see it clearly, But this subordinate fell heavily to the ground like a domino. Just like Jiyu Shenyuan said, all of his limbs were broken. This is a sword lady. Seeing this scene, Wang Zihao's heart went cold. Only now did he realize that he might have kicked an iron plate. There was actually a living sword lady here, and this sword lady was listening to this beautiful woman's orders. Didn't this mean that this woman was very likely to be a sword wielder? Go, this is just a woman. Everyone go together and kill her. When the time comes, everyone will get 10% of the profit. Wang Zihao commanded his two subordinates to rush forward, but he himself kept retreating, preparing to leave this place. It was obvious that Wang Zihao was going to betray his teammate. A gentleman's revenge was never too late. After he thoroughly investigated this woman's background, he would think of a way to deal with her. Wang Zihao's plan was quite good. If it was a normal ancient sword lady, with the help of his two subordinates, Wang Zihao might really be able to escape from this place. Unfortunately, Juzi was a famed sword lady, and it was very likely that she was the number one famed sword lady. How could these two mediocre humans be a match for Juzi? Wang Zihao hadn't even taken 2 steps when he felt a gust of wind blowing towards his arm. Wang Zihao swore to the heavens that this was definitely the day he had achieved the highest level of swordsmanship in his life. At this moment, Wang Zihao suddenly had a flash of inspiration. With a posture that he normally wouldn't have thought of, he forcefully dodged this sure-hit sword, causing Juzi's sword to hit nothing but air. Oh, interesting. I'm going to have to look up to you again. Seeing Wang Zihao's dodge, even though they were enemies, Jiyu Shenyuan couldn't help but sigh in admiration. It was a pity that Wang Zihao's swordsmanship was used in a place like this. Chapter 610. When Wang Zihao calmed down again, he saw that the 3 men he brought were all lying on the ground. They were constantly wailing. Although Wang Zihao had heard wailing many times, this was the first time he heard it coming from his own men. This time, Wang Zihao felt fear in his heart. Stand there and don't move. Let Juzi complete master's order. Juzi's sword approached Wang Zihao step by step. Her eyes were only staring at Wang Zihao's limbs. Wang Zihao believed that dodging just now was the highest achievement in his life. It was absolutely impossible for him to do it a second time. Lord Sword Bearer, I, Wang Zihao, admit defeat. Please tell me, Wang Zihao will do as you say. In this moment of crisis, Wang Zihao immediately decided to give in. As the saying goes, a wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. At least he managed to save his limbs. No matter what she said later, he might as well agree. As long as he could get out of here, who knows what would happen in the future. Master. Juzi turned her head to look at Jiyu Shenyuan. She wanted to ask her what she should do now. Should she still break Wang Zihao's limbs? Alright, since he is so smart, let's spare him this time. Guhan nodded. Juzi moved her eyes away from Wang Zihao's limbs. Wang Zihao let out a long sigh of relief. At least his limbs were saved. This was where Wang Zihao was smart. It was impossible for him to escape from Juzi's clutches. He would rather listen to her obediently and be as respectful as possible. Only then would he be able to save his life from her clutches. You are a smart man. Wang Zihao's thoughts couldn't escape Jiyu Xuanyuan's eyes. She snorted and then ordered Lucy Hua, Shihua, block the ears of these 3 people and throw them into the small room. Although he didn't understand why Jiyu Shenyuan asked him to do this, Lu Shihua, who had recovered from the pain, was very clear that Jiyu Shenyuan was the boss in the family. It was enough for him to listen to her. So Lu Shihua obediently blocked the ears of the 3 people and threw them into the small room. Jiyu Shenyuan kept Wang Zihao by his side. He let Juzi stare at Wang Zihao to make sure that he wouldn't hurt him. Then he said slowly, Wang Zihao, what happened today? Tell me everything. As long as you tell me the truth, I promise I won't kill you. By the way, I'll ask your men again later. If any of their statements don't match up with yours, you know what consequences you'll have to bear, right? You're a smart man. Yes, I understand. I will tell you everything, I won't hide anything. Wang Zihao forced a smile and said, Sir, you don't know. Today, a big shot from Mount Di found me and gave me Miss Lu Shihua's photo. He asked me to bring Miss Lu Shihua to him. If I had known that Miss Lu Shihua was your relative, I would have died. I would not have accepted this deal. What kind of deal are you doing? Lu Shihua, who was covered in wounds, staggered out of the small room. She stared at Wang Zihao resentfully. Everything that happened today was something that Lu Shihua had never experienced in her life. A few minutes ago, before Jiyu Shenyuan ordered Juzi to make a move, Lu Shihua even thought that today was the day she would die. She was ready to kill herself to prevent herself from being humiliated even more. Now that Wang Zihao had become her prisoner, the resentment and doubts in Lu Shihua's heart broke out in an instant. She really wanted to know what kind of deal she was involved in. I'm a meat merchant. Naturally, I'm in the business of selling meat. Seeing Lu Shihua's unkind expression, Wang Zihao quickly explained, meat is a synonym for beautiful women in our line of work. There's nothing strange about our business. We just capture women or men for some big shots and send them to the correctional center or directly to their homes. We just earn some hard work in the middle. You're a human trafficker. Lu Shihua roared angrily, in broad daylight, under the watchful eyes of so many people. How could you do such a thing? Is there still any law in this world? This, with all due respect, the law is only used to restrain people like us. The real big shots will never be restrained by the law, Wang Zihao said, his face showing an indignant expression. He was also one of those people who were restrained by the law. Big shots? What kind of big shots? Are they the counselors? Or are they the powerful officials? Lu Shihua blurted out the question. In the eyes of the common people, these people were the ones with the most power. What kind of big shots are they? Wang Zihao laughed contemptuously. They're just a fox pretending to be a tiger. In this robbery, 80% of the counselors were killed. For such an important matter, the TV station's report added up to less than 100 words. The missing person notice of the sword-bearer called Guhan had to be broadcast 30 times a day. The entire council is not as important as the sword-bearer Guhan, so what kind of big shots are the counselors? The big shots in this world will always be the high and mighty sword-bearers. According to what you've said, the one who secretly ordered you to kidnap women is us sword-bearers. Jiyu Xuanyuan's voice came faintly. That's right, it's a famous sword-bearer. Wang Zihao said calmly, as for the name of this sword-bearer, if you want to know, I can tell you. But let me be clear, he's a big shot who lives on Mount Emperor. He's different from the ordinary famous sword-bearers. If you want to provoke him, it won't be as easy as dealing with me. Wang Zihao mentioned a new term, Mount Emperor. The so-called Mount Emperor was the place where the sword-bearer families of Yuzhang City gathered. It was located in the corner of the core area. It also had a dimensional protection system, enjoying layers of protection. Together with the Sword Pavilion, it was known as the safest place in Yuzhang City. Naturally, the people who lived in Mount Emperor were the descendants of the sword-bearer families. They were all descendants of Jendi. Their families were rich, they had strong connections in the Sword Council, and they themselves also had good martial strength. Provoking a guy from Mount Emperor was very likely to provoke the entire sword-bearer family. Of course, it was a society governed by law now. After the Emperor's sword aristocratic family lost the protection of the Sword Emperor, they wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. They would invite the experts in the family to help the protagonists gain experience points. Although there wouldn't be any revenge on the surface, in the dark, they would use all kinds of tricks. Today, there would be a compulsory task. Tomorrow, there would be guarding the beacon tower. In short, they would use reasonable and legal methods to make you do things that were hard and not beneficial. Otherwise, they would make a mountain out of a molehill. They would grab a small matter and make it big. Then, they would throw you into the prison of the discipline committee. In short, if the sword-bearer families wanted to deal with a person, there were many ways. Many talented sword-bearers, because they offended the sword-bearer, they would be done for. That was why Wang Zihao had mentioned Di Shan's name. He wanted to borrow the name of the Emperor Sword's aristocratic clan to frighten Jiyu Shenyuan. He wanted to let her know that there was someone behind her, and that she shouldn't be too excessive. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good for anyone. Who is it? Tell me his name. Who knew that Jiyu Shenyuan wouldn't be moved by Wang Zihao's threat? Wang Zihao had no choice but to say it. Since she wanted to seek revenge from the sword-bearer families, it wasn't Wang Zihao's business anymore. His name is Shi Jihong. He's the third son of the Chen Shuang family. We all call him Third Young Master Shi. The Chen Shuang family that Wang Zihao mentioned was the descendant of Chen Shuang Jendi. He was the second sword-bearer after Zhe Tian Jendi in Yuzhang City. In Yuzhang City, he was considered an old Jendi family. However, unlike the weakened Zhe Tian family, the Chen Shuang family was very prosperous. A few decades ago, they still had a sword-bearer with a celestial sword. They were considered a very strong family among the sword-bearers in Yuzhang City. This was indeed a hard nut to crack. Even if Liu Lei wanted to touch him, he would have to think about it carefully. Unless the Chen Shuang family committed some unforgivable crime, they wouldn't fall. Of course, Guhan wouldn't destroy the Jendi family just because of Third Young Master Shi. However, Third Young Master Shi had been engraved in Guhan's heart. If there was a chance, Guhan wouldn't let this guy go. You're talking nonsense. I'm just a little commoner girl hiding in a corner. I haven't even been more than 10 kilometers from Mount Di. How could this Chen Shuang family young master know me? Why would he attack a woman like me? Lu Shihua yelled loudly. Actually, it wasn't that she didn't believe that the mastermind was Third Young Master Shi, but she knew that if the mastermind was really a young master from the Jendi family, then she wouldn't even think about revenge. In that case, forget about taking revenge, she should be thinking about Third Young Master Shi's next move. He would not let her off so easily. Miss Shihua, I don't know if you remember the man in white you met at the performance this morning. Wang Zihao smiled bitterly. His Third Young Master Shi. He came out for a stroll and took a fancy to you. He invited you to be a guest at his house with kind words, but you didn't listen. He couldn't do anything in public, so he could only find me. I'm also unlucky. Wang Zihao smiled even more bitterly. This business was originally someone else's, but I snatched it away. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have wanted this business no matter what. For a mere 100,000, it's not worth it. Chapter 611. I guess it's that bastard. Lu Shihua's face didn't change much when she heard Wang Zihao spit out the words young master in white. Obviously, she had vaguely guessed who the mastermind was. Shihua, what did that Third Young Master Shi say to you? Jiyu Shenyuan asked. You have to tell me the truth, otherwise I can't make the right judgment. Obviously, Jiyu Xuanyuan's words had an effect. Lu Shihua, who originally didn't want to talk about this matter, finally told the whole story in full detail. It turned out that this morning, Lu Shihua's troupe received an invitation to perform. It was said that they were performing for a mall that had reopened after the Great Attack. After I finished my performance, when I went backstage to tidy up my costume, the man in white came over. Lu Shihua blushed and said intermittently, he took my hand and didn't let me go. He said he wanted me to go to his house to perform. I didn't agree. I was scared, so I rushed into the crowd, and then the guy disappeared. I thought he had given up his dirty thoughts, so I didn't care. I didn't expect him to find someone to catch me. Beautiful snake, what is that? Jiyu Shenyuan was puzzled. Forget it, since you've already said it, I won't hide it from you. Lu Shihua sighed. In fact, I don't have any position in the troupe. I'm just an odd job worker. I can only earn less than 50 yuan a day. Later, the leader of the troupe saw that my body was soft, so he asked me if I would like to learn soft kung fu and play the role of a beautiful snake in the troupe. This way, I can earn 150 yuan a day. The so-called beautiful snake is actually an artificial bionic snake tail that is worn under the chest, and then performs all kinds of movements that snakes can do. This requires high flexibility of the body. Other actors in the troupe can't do it, only I can do it. Later, we specialized in performing the beautiful snake in the troupe. The reason why I don't want to tell you is that this performance is really embarrassing. I was going to resign from the troupe today, but I didn't expect this to happen. After Lu Shihua explained, her whole face was red. But that third young master sure likes to watch my performance so much that he wants me to go to his house to perform. If he really likes to watch it, then he can say some good words and let me bring some friends with me. I can also agree to it. Why would he want you to capture me? You didn't even hesitate to injure my younger brother. This is unreasonable. Lu Shihua asked in confusion. This performance was indeed amazing when he saw it for the first time. However, after watching it many times, it was still the same. Lu Shihua didn't think it was very good. Hee. This is actually third young master Shi's special hobby. Wang Zihao suddenly revealed a lascivious smile. Third young master Shi didn't do it to watch your performance. He wanted to lock you up in his house and make you his pet. This third young master Shi likes to transform humans into animals. If I'm not wrong, he will definitely transform your lower body into a snake's body forever, and then make you a real snake beauty. Hearing this, Lu Shihua almost fainted from fright. Even Guhan couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine when he heard this. Before, he thought that this third young master Shi was just a beast who liked to play with women. Now, it seemed that this third young master Shi wasn't even worthy of being a beast. Becoming inorganic was his final destination. This third young master Shi, how many people has he harmed? Unknowingly, Jiyu Xuanyuan's hand had actually clenched into a fist. Jiyu Xuanyuan's control over her body had recovered a lot. Unfortunately, at this time, Jiyu Xuanyuan didn't have the mind to care about these things. All her thoughts were on how to kill this third young master Shi. I don't know about this. There are many people who have handled these things for third young master Shi. This is the first time I've done business for third young master Shi. Before this, it was always done by others. During the Great Invasion, the person who had handled it before was eaten by Yuan Shen. That was why it was my turn. However, I've been to third young master Shi's house and saw a few so-called human pets. There were dogs, cats, horses, and so on. There were about 7 or 8 of them. I'm not sure if there were more. After a long silence, Jiyu Shenyuan finally opened her mouth to break the silence. All right, I know about this matter. I'll deal with this guy who's worse than a pig or a dog. I still have a question to ask you. Don't you all have a personal terminal in your hands? Do you accept the monitoring of the intelligent system? Aren't you afraid of the system finding out what you're doing? I'm afraid, of course I'm afraid. Once the system finds out, we'll be immediately arrested and shot on the same day. This Wang Zihao was still a little cautious when he spoke at the beginning. But now, he was completely relaxed. He said whatever was on his mind, and only wanted to feel at ease. So we have to avoid the monitoring of the personal terminal. We have to make some small modifications to our bodies. Wang Zihao could be seen pinching the skin near the personal terminal installed on his arm. One could see that under his skin, there was a blade-sized thing that was forcibly implanted. This is the latest generation of personal terminal deceptive equipment. As long as this thing is implanted, once it's activated, the personal terminal will only receive the prepared video and audio information. It will no longer be able to monitor the real situation around our body. Wang Zihao said proudly, I've set the scene where I'm taking a nap. So the personal terminal will always think that I'm taking a nap at home from 12 noon to 6 p.m. It will never know what I'm really doing. I only do bad things at this point in time. At other times, I'm a good person. What about the third son of the Shi family? There are so many humans in their family. Are they all doing bad things at a certain point in time? Lu Shihua asked with a trembling voice. Miss Shihua, do you think that the people of the Jendi family are the same as ordinary people like us? Do we all have to be monitored by personal terminals? Wang Zihao snorted. The personal terminals they wear can be automatically set to monitor whether or not they're on. They are the people of the Jendi family. How can they be monitored by a machine? The personal terminal is just a tool for communication and use on them. But on us, it's a monitoring device that monitors us for the rest of our lives. This is the difference between us and the sword bearers. As for those who are kidnapped, we'll arrange a fake death for them. Then, we'll forcibly remove their personal terminals and make them completely disappear from this world. The completely disappear that Wang Zihao said was not as easy as he said it. After a person's personal terminal was marked as dead, it was equivalent to being completely erased from the world. They would become a puppet that could be slaughtered by the big shots at will. There was no freedom or dignity to speak of. It was really tragic to the extreme. Wouldn't this kind of thing be found out? The more Lu Shihua listened, the more her body trembled. She suddenly realized that this world was completely different from the one she was familiar with. Of course it will be found out. Moreover, it's been found out more than once. Anyway, it's always us, the middlemen, who take the blame. After we're taken and killed, those big shots continue to act like tyrants. In fact, this world is the world of the sword-bearers. We ordinary people are just their tools. They even say that they're protecting us. They can do whatever they want to do with us. I can't be the person who does that to others, but I also don't want to be the person who is being manipulated. So, I can only walk in the middle. Alright, I've said what I need to say. Sir Sword-bearer, if you want to kill me or cut me up, feel free to do so. Strange, after saying what's in my heart, I don't feel that death is that scary anymore. Instead, it's a kind of relief. Then, please give me a quick death. Wang Zihao stood up from the ground. He had the appearance of a martyr who was not afraid of death. Originally, based on your crimes, even if I kill you 10,000 times, you still deserve to die. Jiyu Xuanyuan's voice sounded faintly. This made Wang Zihao, who was originally not afraid of death, suddenly feel terrified again. The fear of death also began to spread from the bottom of his heart. But you still have some use. I'll give you a chance to atone for your crimes. Are you willing? Jiyu Xuanyuan's tone did not allow for refusal. If Wang Zihao said no, he would probably die here immediately. I'm willing. Wang Zihao nodded without hesitation. He didn't care what Jiyu Xuanyuan's request was. What I want you to do is very simple. I'll let you go back. You just need to tell that third young master Shi that they've already escaped to the house of the sword-bearer's relative. You don't dare to make a move. Then, you need to keep an eye on third young master Shi. If he takes a fancy to someone else and wants you to make a move, you need to report to me immediately. Do you understand? It's indeed a very simple matter. Wang Zihao nodded. He then looked at Jiyu Shenyuan doubtfully. But miss, aren't you afraid that after I leave, I'll sell your information to third young master Shi? With such a great beauty like you, third young master Shi will definitely mobilize the power of the Chen Shuang family to snatch you away. Don't worry, I promise you won't dare to tell on me. Guhan clapped his hands. Juzi, who had been silent all this time, took out a video camera out of nowhere. Everything you said just now is recorded in the camera. If something goes wrong, this video will be published on the internet. I don't know if third young master Shi will be in trouble, but you will definitely be killed by third young master Shi. Yes, Zihao understands. Zihao will definitely do as you say, miss. Wang Zihao wiped the beads of sweat off his forehead. He hesitated for a moment. My lord, it's almost 6 o'clock in the evening. The shield on my personal terminal is about to be removed. Since you don't want to kill me, can I bring my people back first? Of course you can go back. Jiyu Shenyuan nodded. But she immediately shook her head. But is the sin you've committed going to end just like that? I won't say much. Leave 3 million for the Lu siblings to treat their injuries. Otherwise, you can just walk out of here. Yes. Yes. How could Wang Zihao dare to say no? After transferring 3 million renminbi to Lu Shihua, he escaped with his 3 subordinates with great heartache. This 3 million was Wang Zihao's income for 2 years, and now it was all gone. Thinking of this, Wang Zihao couldn't wait to slap himself a few times. He hated himself for being so obsessed with taking on this hot potato. Are you really going to let this scum live? Lu Shihua walked to Jiyu Xuanyuan's side and said quietly, who knows how many pitiful lives have been stained on his hands. I said I won't kill him. Then I won't kill him with my own hands. I won't use my own sword lady to kill him. Jiyu Xuanyuan's hand covered the back of Lu Shihua's hand. But you're different. I'll leave this Wang Zihao's life to you. Chapter 612. It was worth mentioning that when something happened to the Lu family, it was very quiet outside. None of the neighbors dared to disturb them. However, after Wang Zihao left, the neighbors who were peeking their heads out appeared one after another. They tried to enter the Lu family to find out what was going on. Although these neighbors didn't know what happened, they all saw Lu Yin's injured appearance when he was brought over. They naturally thought that Lu Yin had offended someone outside. Now that someone had come to kill them, even if the Lu family didn't die, they would at least lose a layer of skin. Unfortunately, these neighbors seemed to have guessed wrongly. Lu Shihua blocked these neighbors who were bursting with curiosity outside and didn't allow them to enter. Then, he explained that Lu Yin was mischievous outside and had his eyes damaged. Wang Zihao and the others were here to send Lu Yin back and compensate for his medical expenses. Nothing bad had happened. Of course, the neighbors didn't believe Lu Shihua's explanation. If Lu Yin was injured, why was Lu Shihua also covered in wounds? These were all new wounds that had just been caused. Although they were full of doubts, the neighbors didn't continue to ask. Instead, they very enthusiastically expressed that they were willing to bring Lu Yin to the hospital with Lu Shihua to treat his injuries. Just like that, Lu Shihua brought Lu Yin to the hospital. Based on the condition of Lu Yin's eyes, unless they used the most advanced medical equipment, such as Guhan's immortal-grade medical pods, it would be impossible to treat his eyes in a short period of time. Normal equipment would only be restored by noon the next day at the earliest. Lu Shihua would definitely accompany Lu Yin in the hospital until he recovered. It seemed that during this period, only Jiyu Shenyuan would stay at home. Jiyu Shenyuan had nothing to do at home, so she entered the game again. She found a sword-grade instance dungeon and entered it. Halfway through, her communicator suddenly rang. Guhan opened the communicator and saw that it was Lu Shihua from the Lu family, which meant that Lu Shihua had sent him a message. Guhan was puzzled. Shouldn't Lu Shihua be accompanying Lu Yin in the hospital now? Why did she suddenly enter the game? Could she have already gone home? Since he was puzzled, he decided to accept the call. Guhan agreed to Lu Shihua's communication request. Then, he heard a somewhat familiar voice. "Mr. Military Governor, are you free now?" "Of course. It's quite convenient." Guhan looked at the few yuan ku that were surrounding him and said indifferently, "In that case, Shihua would like to have a few words with the military governor. I wonder if Master is willing to." Lu Shihua continued, "No problem. Wait for me at the Starbucks tea house where we met last time. I'll be there soon. If there's anything, we'll talk about it when we meet," Guhan said and hung up the communication. Seeing that there was only 20% left to complete the quest, Jiyu Han immediately jumped into the emergency exit beside him and gave up on this dungeon that was about to be completed. When Guhan arrived at the cafe, he saw Lu Shihua sitting there silently with his head down. He didn't know what he was thinking. "What's wrong? I heard from Shen Yuan that you would rather perform today than accept my guidance. Why are you looking for me now?" As soon as Guhan sat down, he asked bluntly, "Did Sister Shen Yuan tell you everything that happened today, Mr. Military Governor?" Lu Shihua raised his head and asked with a blush. "Yes, she did. She told me everything in detail. When I heard it, I wanted to go to the third young Master Shi and throw him into the prison of the Discipline Inspection Commission. I didn't expect there to be such a scum among us sword-bearers. What a disgrace," Guhan said and slammed the table angrily. At this moment, Guhan was the master of the Sword Pavilion in Yuzhang City, which was equivalent to half a leader of Yuzhang City. The third young Master Shi's behavior was indeed a disgrace to Guhan. "Mr. Military Governor, this is actually what Shihua wanted to ask you. Originally, in Shihua's heart, being a sword-bearer was a mysterious and noble profession. It was a profession that sacrificed its life for ordinary human beings. Therefore, Shihua also hoped that she could become a sword-bearer. But now it seems that sword-bearers are like leeches sucking on the flesh and blood of ordinary people. This is not the sword-bearer in Shihua's heart, and Shihua doesn't want to be such a sword-bearer. Are all sword-bearers in the world this kind of sanctimonious beast?" Lu Shihua was very emotional when she said this. It seemed that she had been thinking about this question all this time, so her face looked very haggard. Yes and no. After listening to Lu Shihua's words, Gu Han knew that Lu Shihua had doubts about the profession of sword-bearers. However, Gu Han couldn't say all good things about sword-bearers. As long as one stepped into the circle of sword-bearers, sooner or later, one would know the dirty things in the circle. At that time, his master's reputation would be ruined. Where there is sunlight, there will be shadows. Where there are good people, there will be bad people. There are indeed some beasts among sword-bearers, but are there no beasts among ordinary people? Isn't that Wang Zihao also a beast among ordinary people? But in this world, there will always be more good people than bad people, and there will always be more good sword-bearers than bad sword-bearers. People like the third son of the Shi family are just special cases. I can't say for others, but my sword-bearers are all heroes. Some of them have already given their voices. Are they also bad people? In fact, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to care about other sword-bearers. You just need to be yourself. You have to remember, no matter what happens in the future, you can't forget your original intention. You have to always be the heroic sword-bearer in your heart, understand? As Gu Han spoke, it was like a big gulp of chicken soup poured into Lu Shihua's head. Shihua understands. Lu Shihua nodded, but her face still had an expression of not letting go. Mr. Military Governor, that Wang Zihao said that ordinary people have laws and personal terminals to monitor, but sword-bearers are free, and there are no laws to restrict them. Is what he said true or false? Do you think that if sword-bearers do evil things and harm ordinary people, the law and the Sword Council won't care about them? The Commission for Discipline Inspection that you speak of, is it just a decoration? Take that third young master Shi for example. More than 10 pitiful people have been turned into monsters that are neither human nor animal by him. How can he continue to be free and unfettered? Did the Sword Committee and the Discipline Committee really not discover these crimes? Lu Shihua's words pointed the spearhead from the sword-bearers to the Sword Council, the bureaucracy that manages all sword-bearers in the world. Obviously, Lu Shihua also hated the Sword Council. When Gu Han heard Lu Shihua's words, he shut his mouth and didn't say anything. Instead, he clicked on his personal terminal, as if he was communicating with a friend. Lu Shihua didn't say anything, she was waiting for Gu Han's answer. After a few minutes, Gu Han ended the communication. He stared at Lu Shihua's eyes, causing goosebumps to appear all over Lu Shihua's body. She almost ran out of the tea house. Lu Shihua, originally I was going to make up a few good words about the Sword Council to fool you, but you will be my disciple in the future. Maybe you will take over my current position from me, so there are some things I don't want to hide from you. I'll tell you the truth, but you must remember, no matter how you think or understand what I said today, you can only rot in your heart. Don't say it out loud, or else you and your brother will die. Of course, you can choose not to listen to me. That way, you can still happily be a sword-bearer, and don't have to worry about those messy things. I'll pretend that you never asked me this question. Gu Han said coldly. The murderous intent in his words made Lu Shihua shiver uncontrollably. She suddenly realized that the military governor in front of her seemed to be a great person, and she had already stepped into a dark world. Once she took another step, it would be irreversible. Shihua understands, Shihua just wants to know the truth. Lu Shihua bit the bullet and said, "Okay, this is your choice. Come with me." Gu Han waved his hand, and he disappeared in front of Lu Shihua. Lu Shihua was stunned, and suddenly received a system prompt inviting her to enter the sword tomb. Lu Shihua accepted the invitation and came to Gu Han's sword tomb. She was taken into an empty small room by Gu Han. Take a look at these things. When the door was closed, Gu Han threw a pile of photos and some videos to Lu Shihua. Lu Shihua glanced at the photos. They were all young and beautiful girls. But they only had the upper body of a normal human, or even just a head. Their other bodies had changed into something that made Lu Shihua's hair stand on end. For example, a beautiful girl still had a normal body, but her limbs had become like those of a dog. A lively tail grew out of the gap of her buttocks, and it could swing freely. She was clearly already a half-human half-dog monster. In addition to this beautiful dog, there were also cats, horses, mice, Pandas. Lu Shihua only glanced at these photos, and she was so scared that she threw them back to Guhan. As for a few videos, she didn't even dare to look at them. Mr. Military Governor, where did you get these things from? Are you good friends with the third son of the Shi family? Lu Shihua asked in horror, as if Guhan was also a demon. If it wasn't for Shen Yuan telling me today, I wouldn't even know the third son of the Shi family. This kind of trash from the Emperor Sword family, I wouldn't even bother to look at them. Military Governor snorted coldly, I found these from the Sword Committee's database. This is my answer to you. In fact, the Sword Committee already knows everything about the third son of the Shi family. It was rare for Guhan to speak the truth. Chapter 613. The Sword Committee knows all this. Lu Shihua was agitated. Then why doesn't the Sword Committee care? Don't they say on TV every day that they want to protect the lives and property of all humans? Don't they want humanity to return to the beautiful times before the apocalypse? They're all liars. All liars. Calm down. Guhan placed a cup of tea in front of Lu Shihua. Although the Sword Committee is a bit screwed up in some areas, it's still a good organization and a good government. At the very least, it's much better than the government before the apocalypse. Let me ask you, if the Sword Committee wants to fulfill its promise and return humanity to the times before the apocalypse, what does the Sword Committee rely on? Who can the Sword Committee rely on to eliminate all the Yuan coup? Guhan patted Lu Shihua's shoulder. It can only rely on the swordbearers, and only by relying on the swordbearers can we achieve this. Without the swordbearers, everything is just empty talk. That's why the Sword Committee is naturally on the side of the swordbearers. After all, their full name is the Human Swordbearers Action and Development Committee. HMPH, sophistry. Is this the reason for sacrificing the dignity and freedom of ordinary humans? Then I'd rather die than accept the protection of the swordbearers. Lu Shihua roared. Don't be so extreme. I've already said that the Sword Committee may sacrifice the interests of a small number of ordinary people, but in the face of the big picture, the Sword Committee still has a say. For example, in this attack, of the more than 3,000 swordbearers who died in Yuzhang City, not a single one fell while escaping. They all died fighting Yuan Zhen. A good friend of mine lost everything in order to protect the ordinary people in the refuge. Is such a person also a scoundrel and a bastard? Guhan slammed the table. The loud noise finally calmed Lu Shihua down. I admit that perhaps most of the swordbearers are good people, but why didn't the Sword Committee get rid of the bad ones? Even Lu Shihua knew that he had to throw away the broken parts and replace the good ones to return to normal. Since the Sword Committee already knew this, why didn't they bring this third young master Shi to justice? To save those pitiful people who are suffering? How could it be so simple? Such vile behavior, if it was an ordinary sword wielder, the Sword Committee would have long sent him to the Discipline Committee. However, he was a member of Di Shan, which was a place that even the Sword Committee could not control. Although those Gendi families were fighting against each other secretly, they were actually united with each other. Once one of them is moved, the entire Gendi clan will become restless. But isn't the Sword Commission the highest authority in Yuzhang City? How could they not care about Di Shan's business? Lu Shihua was not convinced. That was when Gendi was around. His Majesty Gendi doesn't exist now. Ji Yuhan sighed. Sword Immortal Cloudy Sky is the only immortal sword rank swordbearer left in the Sword Council, but Mount Di has 12 spiritual sword rank swordbearers, which is more than half of all the spiritual sword rank swordbearers in Yuzhang City. Sword Immortal Cloudy Sky is about to die, so his biggest wish is to maintain the stability of Yuzhang City. Before he can suppress Mount Di, the Sword Council will not do anything to Mount Di. Only when an Emperor sword wielder appears in Yuzhang City will the Sword Council be able to extend their reach into Mount Emperor and capture all the bastards there. Do you understand? I don't understand. Lu Shihua shook her head. What you said is too far away for a commoner like me. It's too scary. I've decided that when little Yin's eyes are healed, we will move out of the core area and back to the normal area. I won't be a sword wielder, and I won't get involved in these things. I just want to protect my brother. I don't want to touch these filthy things. Lu Shihua actually said this. It seemed like the darkness in the world of Sword Wielder had made her feel hopeless, so she instinctively chose to escape. Shihua, I thought you were smart, but I didn't expect you to be so stupid. With a wave of Ji Yuhan's hand, all the photos and videos that Lu Shihua had seen disappeared without a trace. Shihua, I just asked you, do you really want to know the truth of the matter? Since you chose to follow your curiosity, you've already entered the world of Sword Wielder. You can't escape. To ensure that this matter doesn't get leaked, you and your brother can't escape. You'll kill me. Mr. Military Governor. Lu Shihua stood up and stared at Guhan. I won't kill you. You saved Shen Yuan, which is equivalent to saving me. I won't bite the hand that feeds me. Guhan sighed, but I hid this information from my master. He'll know about me soon. Nothing can be hidden from him, and you can't hide from him either. I won't kill you, but my master will kill you. I can't stop my master. Who's your master? Lu Shihua asked subconsciously. I just said his name. His cloudy sword immortal, Liu Lei. By the way, if you're willing to be my disciple, he'll be your grandmaster, and we'll be a family. Grandmaster won't blame you for reading this information. At most, he'll scold you. Guhan directly pushed the blame to Liu Lei. All the information was obtained by Guhan using his authority as the Sword Garret Master from the confidential database in Yuzhang City. The authority of the Sword Garret Master was equal to that of the chairman of the Sword Committee. Liu Lei didn't know that Guhan had read this information. Even if he knew, he wouldn't do anything to a poor girl like Lu Shihua. Guhan was just trying to scare Lu Shihua. However, the effect was very obvious. Lu Shihua had already been frightened. She had not expected that her coming to the Admiral to ask the questions in her heart would send her into such a situation where she could not advance or retreat. A wave of grievance welled up in her heart, and her eyes involuntarily became moist. Wipe it. Ji Yuhan passed another handkerchief to Lu Shihua. He stood behind Lu Shihua and placed his hand on Lu Shihua's head, quietly caressing it, feeling the soft touch of Lu Shihua's hair. The moment Guhan's hand touched Lu Shihua's head, Lu Shihua, who was filled with grief and indignation, suddenly felt a strong electric current spreading from the top of her head to the rest of her body. No one had ever touched Lu Shihua's head like this. Lu Shihua suddenly felt her whole body calm down, and an inexplicable gentleness welled up in her heart. Her hatred for Guhan also disappeared inexplicably. Instead, she began to yearn for Guhan to stroke her head a few more times. In this world, you can't solve problems by running away. You're afraid of the darkness in the world of the swordbearers, so you can escape to a place where you think there are no swordbearers. But let me ask you, if you don't have the protection of a swordbearer, do you still have a safe place to run to? If the swordbearers also think of running away like you, then humans can really disappear from this world. Running away won't solve problems, it will only make them worse. As Guhan spoke, he slowly stroked Lu Shihua's head, turning it in circles as if he was kneading dough. Don't you think the world of the swordbearers is dark? Then why don't you choose to pick up your sword and sweep away the darkness? Shihua, trust me. Sooner or later, you will become a great swordbearer. When that time comes, you will have enough power to send all the animals in front of you to the Avachi hell. Let them repent for their sins in hell. Shihua, trust me, he said. Sooner or later, you will become a great swordbearer. At that time, you will have enough power to send all the animals in front of you to the Avachi hell. And now, what you need to do is to train your strength and do the training to become a swordbearer. Do you understand? Lu Shihua didn't say yes, nor did he nod. But this was a good sign, proving that Lu Shihua had silently agreed with Guhan's words. However, there was still a thorn in Lu Shihua's heart that he couldn't let go. What about the third young master Shi? Are we going to let him continue to harm people? Lu Shihua said unwillingly. How could it be possible? I will not let the third young master Shi go. I have a very important thing to do now, I don't have time to care about him. But I promise you, after I finish my business, I will go to Di Shan personally. Since the Sword Council can't do it, let me do it myself. The Sword Council is afraid of Di Shan's power, But Di Shan is also afraid of the Sword Council's power. As long as I do it without saving anyone, Di Shan won't dare to do anything to me, the disciple of the Sword Immortal, Gu Han said coldly. It seemed that the tragic fate of the third young master Shi was already doomed. All right, I promise you, I will definitely become a sword-bearer. Sooner or later, I will wash away all the darkness and create a fair and just world, Lu Shihua said loudly. This had become her lifelong dream. However, Lu Shihua didn't know that in the future, for this dream of hers, Lu Shihua would have to sacrifice much more than she could imagine. I believe you can do it, Gu Han said with a smile. His hand naturally left Lu Shihua's head, which made Lu Shihua feel a deep sense of loss. She wished that Gu Han's hand would never leave her head. By the way, aren't you taking care of your brother in the hospital? Why do you have time to enter the game? Have you already gone home? How is Shen Yuan? Gu Han asked, changing the conversation from the heavy and dark topic just now. I am still in the hospital. The doctor said that little Yin will sleep in the nutrient solution for 1 day and 1 night, and won't wake up in the middle. I felt uncomfortable, so I used the public helmet that the hospital prepared for the family members of the caregivers to find you. Oh, I see. Gu Han nodded. So what do you plan to do now? Do you want to go to the instance again to practice? Mr. Military Governor, can I learn something from you? Suddenly, Lu Shihua said, I am a stupid woman who can't do anything. I want to learn something from Mr. Military Governor. Mr. Military Governor, can you teach me? Of course. Gu Han nodded. This Lu Shihua was not that stupid after all. Chapter 614. Gu Han taught Lu Shihua until 2 o'clock in the morning. Not only did Gu Han teach Lu Shihua the general knowledge of swordsmanship, but he also tried to teach her some swordsmanship. As a result, Gu Han made a shocking discovery. Lu Shihua's physical fitness was quite good, or it could be said that it was terrifyingly good. Gu Han's own aptitude was probably at the same level as Lu Shihua's. Lu Shihua only listened to Gu Han's basic swordsmanship once and saw it again, and she could use it decently. She did not look like a beginner at all. Moreover, she could also comprehend the indescribable aspects of swordsmanship. This made Gu Han very happy. With Lu Shihua's talent, Gu Han was confident that he could teach Lu Shihua's swordsmanship to a similar level as his in 2 years. In this way, there would be another powerful swordmaster in the world. However, when Gu Han tried to teach Lu Shihua the swordsmanship of the 9 swords of mysterious heaven, he found that Lu Shihua's talent seemed to have disappeared. Although Lu Shihua could still learn it after seeing it once, no matter how many times she practiced, Lu Shihua's figure always looked so awkward, as if it was twisted into a long towel, full of disharmony. Although it was not that she could not fight like this, if she encountered a swordsmanship expert, Lu Shihua would only die if she used this set of swordsmanship. At first, Gu Han could not understand why Lu Shihua, with such a good figure, could not practice the swordsmanship of the 9 swords of mysterious heaven. It was only when Lu Shihua bent down softly during a break and stuck her head out from her crotch that Gu Han suddenly realized that it was because Lu Shihua's body was too soft. Indeed, Lu Shihua's body was soft as if she had no bones. No matter how she folded herself, there was no problem. This was also a good thing for swordsmanship practice. This way, all kinds of difficult movements could be easily used. However, when it came to swordsmanship like the 9 swords of mysterious heaven, there was a problem. 9 swords of mysterious heaven was a standard hard swordsmanship that focused on big movements. Lu Shihua's body was too soft, so when she used some swordsmanship moves, it would unconsciously show the soft side of her body. This became the fatal weakness of practicing 9 swords of mysterious heaven. Unless Lu Shihua could change her body's inertia, it would be impossible to practice 9 swords of mysterious heaven. However, Gu Han did not intend to ask Lu Shihua to change her body's flexibility. On the contrary, he wanted Shihua to continue practicing jujitsu to make her softer body. The reason for this was because Ji Yu Han did not intend to teach Lu Shihua the 9 swords of mysterious heaven. Instead, he planned to teach Lu Shihua another sword technique, Empyrean Profound Lady Sword. This sword technique did not originate from a famous swordsman, but from a Yuan Ying, the mysterious lady of the 9 heavens. She was an extremely famous Yuan Ku in the Eastern celestial world. Although she was only a universe-level Yuan Ku, her reputation surpassed many desolation-level Yuan Ku. This was because this Empyrean fairy was at the peak of human power. She had 6 Emperor sword-level swordsmanship at the same time, which was known as the 6 Emperors era. Empyrean fairy single-handedly restrained 3 Emperor sword-level swordsmanship, which saved the Eastern celestial world from a huge crisis. It was not that this Empyrean fairy was so powerful that she could deal with 3 Emperor sword-level swordsmanship. It was that she shuttled between 3 male Gendi at the same time and played a famous four-sided love, which made the 3 Gendi fall head over heels for her. When the other 3 Gendi proposed to destroy the Eastern celestial world, which was the biggest Yuan Ku force, the 3 Gendi had all kinds of reasons to reject, escape, or simply hide. Hence, the peak of human power passed just like that. From that era onwards, there were at most 4 Gendi at the same time. There was no more invincible era like the 6 Emperors era. However, surprisingly, the later generations did not hate Empyrean fairy too much because she had never killed a human. She had appeared and disappeared without leaving many traces in the world. Only the Empyrean fairy sword was left. Legend had it that the Empyrean fairy sword was a swordsmanship that Empyrean fairy had carved on the peak of Kunlun. Legend had it that whoever learned the Empyrean fairy sword would have the power to fight the 3 emperors. The peak of Kunlun was one of the bases of the Eastern celestial world. All kinds of powerful Yuan Ku gathered there. Other than Gendi, no one could reach the peak of Kunlun. After the Empyrean fairy disappeared, 2 Gendi ascended to the peak of Kunlun. One was Drifting Goblet, Gendi, and the other was Jiyu Jin, who had recently passed away, Gendi. The news about the Empyrean fairy sword was leaked by Drifting Goblet, Gendi. He told the media that this swordsmanship was unfathomable, and it was a powerful swordsmanship that wasn't any weaker than the myriad sword sutra left behind by their ancestors. However, this swordsmanship could only be practiced by women. Furthermore, it was a swordsmanship that could only be practiced by women who were like water. As for Jiyu Gendi, he kept his mouth shut when people asked him about the Empyrean fairy sword. It was only in the end that he revealed that the swordsmanship did exist, but he only took a look at it and realized that it didn't suit his character, so he forgot about it. Guhan recalled what Drifting Goblet Gendi said. Only women who were like water could practice this swordsmanship, and he instinctively thought about Lu Shihua. Instinctively, he thought of Lu Shihua. Did he mean that his body should be as soft as water? Wouldn't that be a perfect match for Lu Shihua's talent? Thinking about this, Guhan decided to only teach Lu Shihua the most basic swordsmanship so that she could build a good foundation in swordsmanship and learn the Empyrean fairy sword. Speaking of which, there were only 2 ways to cultivate the Empyrean fairy sword. The first was to go to the peak of Kunlun and take a look at the stone tablet with the Empyrean fairy sword carved on it. But it was a pity that it was impossible before Guhan became a sword immortal, and Guhan didn't want to court death. The second way was to ask for it from the Liu Nian family. Drifting Goblet Gendi had made a copy of the swordsmanship, and it was kept in the Liu Nian family. Only with the Liu Nian family's permission could he obtain the swordsmanship. Why would Drifting Goblet Gendi keep the Empyrean fairy sword in the Liu Nian family? The reason was simple. Drifting Goblet Gendi came from the Liu Nian family, and he was the 4th Gendi of the Liu Nian family, as well as the last Gendi. So it wasn't strange for the Empyrean fairy sword to be kept in the Liu Nian family. The first method was naturally unrealistic. If he waited until Guhan could go to the peak of Kunlun to groom Lu Shihua, then it would be too late. So in Guhan's opinion, he could only think of a way to get the copy of the Empyrean fairy sword from the Liu Nian family. With his relationship with Liunian Ling, he could borrow it from the Liu Nian family. However, he could only contact Liunian Ling after he turned back into Guhan. Right now, Guhan definitely wouldn't look for Liunian Ling as Jiyu Shen Yuan. Hence, Jiyu Han put aside the matter of the Empyrean fairy sword technique and focused on Lu Shihua's basic sword technique. Lu Shihua still needed a month or 2 to solidify her foundation. When he brought her to Yangjing City, it would be the perfect time. Lu Shihua practiced until 2 a.m. before he logged out of the game under Guhan's urging. Guhan logged out as well. After all, there were still 3 semifinals on the second day. Although Guhan didn't care about his opponents, an outstanding swordsman had to be energetic at all times. The second day of the semifinals officially began. When Ji Yuhan entered the arena, he discovered that the opponent in front of him was unexpectedly somewhat familiar. "Lord Military Governor, I didn't expect to meet you here," his opponent said excitedly. This opponent was one of Guhan's 4 female subordinates in Area 64, his loyal fangirl, Grave Dance Disco. "Hello. I haven't seen you for a long time." Guhan nodded politely. In fact, they had met yesterday. However, Guhan didn't expect that this seemingly weak girl would win 3 rounds in a row and enter the semifinals on the second day. She even threw herself into the arms of Military Governor under the gaze of millions of spectators. "System, the match has begun. I'm Military Governor. I admit defeat." Guhan was stunned for a moment. Before he could say the usual lines before the match, his opponent, the little fangirl, raised her hands, indicating that she admitted defeat. Admiral, my spot in the semifinals was originally given to me by you. How could I have the nerve to fight you? Anyway, I can't beat you, so I admit defeat." The adorable girl giggled as she danced on the grave. Guhan didn't speak and couldn't move. Because the winner had to undergo some system checks, after winning, Guhan would be banned in place for about 10 seconds, unable to move. "Hey, Lord Military Governor, can you give me a reward?" As the winner, Military Governor couldn't move, but as the loser, Grave Dance Disco could move freely. She quickly rushed to the side of Military Governor and rushed into the arms of the Military Governor at lightning speed. She rubbed hard and sniffed the scent of the Military Governor. Then, she kissed the face of the Military Governor with an intoxicated face. After using up the 10 seconds of the ban, she went offline and disappeared from the side of the Military Governor with satisfaction. "Arth, I want to find out who this bitch is. How dare she disrespect my husband?" a female fan said unhappily in the forum. "With all due respect, Military Governor is my husband, although I'm a cute boy. Alright, just because of this adorably silly girl's burial mound disco dance action, the entire forum was once again in a state of war. However, what Guhan didn't expect was that this silly girl's disco dance at the grave was just the beginning. The next 2 battles were almost the same as the first one. In both cases, the opponent quickly admitted defeat and acted like a silly girl. She threw herself into the arms of the Military Governor and kissed the Military Governor on the cheek before going offline with a smile on her face. "Oh right, you guys can guess, the last 2 opponents of Guhan, are they male or female?" Chapter 615. When the competition ended the next day, Jiyu Shenyuan woke up from the game again and saw Lu Yin lying beside him. His eyes had regained their brightness, and they were even brighter than before. However, there were many things in them that Lu Yin had never had before. "Sister Shenyuan, my sister said that I'm weak and asked me to rest on your bed. You don't mind, do you?" Lu Yin asked weakly. "Just lie down. You're a patient." "Why would I mind a patient? Just don't touch me," Jiyu Shenyuan replied. After this conversation, the 2 of them were silent for a long time. "Big sister Shenyuan, can my big sister really become a sword wielder?" Lu Yin suddenly asked. Of course, she was personally chosen by him as the sword bearer. "There's no mistake, your sister will definitely become an outstanding sword bearer." Jiyu Shenyuan nodded and replied. "What about me? My sister and I have the same mother and father. We have the same bloodline. Can I also become a sword wielder?" Lu Yin asked excitedly and urgently. It seemed that the previous experience had ignited Lu Yin's burning desire to become a sword wielder. "You're only 14. Jiyu Shenyuan turned her head and looked at Lu Yin. "You can ask me this question when you're 18. I can't answer you right now. Every sword bearer starts their journey after they turn 18, so you can still live happily for the next 4 years. Don't think that becoming a sword bearer earlier is a good thing, because you'll never be able to return to your current life." "Oh." Lu Yin nodded and didn't say anything else. No one knew what he was thinking. Beautiful sister, let's watch some TV. It's so boring. Not long after, Lu Yin seemed to have regained his vitality and suggested to watch TV. Naturally, Guhan could not refuse, so Lu Yin turned on the TV excitedly. As soon as the TV was turned on, a tall and majestic building appeared. In front of the building, there were more than 10 people in bright red clothes. They were standing in a row and seemed to be holding a large sign in their hands. There were also some words written in blood red on the sign. Through the screen, Jiyu Shenyuan could vaguely see words such as fairness, democracy, justice, fraternity, equality, and law. Strange, isn't this the temporary sword wielder service center of the Sword Council? What are these people doing here? Lu Yin asked in confusion. But soon, the voice of the commentator came from the TV. Dear viewers, what you're seeing now is the scene of the temporary sword wielder service center. We can see that there are more than 10 pitiful people who are full of grievances and helplessness kneeling here, waiting for justice to arrive. According to the information we've received, this isn't the first time these people have been kneeling here. What grievances have they suffered? Why are they kneeling here endlessly? Let's interview some of these pitiful people and hear what they've been through. After saying that, a reporter walked out and walked straight to a young man who was kneeling at the front. He had a white cloth tied around his head, and on it was the word injustice written in big, bright red. Hello, comrade. We are reporters from the Voice of Harmony TV station in Yuzhang City. How long have you been kneeling here? The reporter asked loudly, afraid that the people in front of the TV couldn't hear him clearly. This is the 3rd day. We have been kneeling here for 3 whole days, the young man said while sobbing with tears streaming down his face. 3 days. Have you been kneeling here the whole time? The host looked very shocked. What exactly happened? Why are you kneeling here? Injustice. My father was wronged. The man suddenly burst into tears. My father's head was cut off, but so many days have passed, and no one has come out to tell us what happened. Where is the murderer? They even wanted to cremate my father. If we hadn't used our lives to stop them, I'm afraid my father would have turned into a pile of ashes. Sigh, the man said as he cried. The tears in his eyes flowed down, and his voice was filled with sorrow. Everyone who saw this scene felt the same. For example, Lu Yin, who was next to Jiyu Shenyuan, became particularly angry. Even his breathing became rapid. These bastards. These officials are all bastards. Is there any law in this world? Before he understood what had happened, Lu Yin began to scold the officials as bastards. This was also human nature. Anyway, if the matter was ruined, then it must be the officials' fault. If the people blocked the government's entrance to seek justice, then it must be the officials' fault. It couldn't be wrong. Don't cry. You're now facing tens of millions of Yuzhang City's citizens. Tell them your story. The truth will not be forgotten, the reporter said righteously and indignantly. Here's the thing. My father is an employee of the public transport company. He has been diligent all his life and has worked hard for more than 30 years. Every day, he has to clean the bus without a trace of dust. Only then can he let the bus go out to greet the guests. His old leader told him that all the buses here are the people's wealth. He must protect every bus and not let these things bought with the people's wealth be stolen. But 10 days ago, when Yuan Ku attacked, my father was afraid that someone would steal the company's buses. So, he took many colleagues and stayed in the parking lot to protect the people's wealth, regardless of the risk of being attacked by Yuan Ku. But at this time, a swordsman appeared. A bastard. He used his own strength to forcibly steal 100 buses from the parking lot. My father didn't let him. He knelt in front of him and begged him not to steal the buses. In order to get away as soon as possible, this bastard actually went crazy and cut off my father's head. At this point, the young man finally broke down in tears and began to wail. He couldn't say a word. Bastard. Bastard. Lu Yin, who was in front of the TV, also exploded. He probably thought of his own experience. Lu Yin was so angry that his whole face turned red. He looked like he wanted to tear this damn swordsman into pieces. Beautiful sister. What do you think? Tell me, isn't this kind of person a bastard like the third son of the Shi family? Lu Yin couldn't take it anymore and asked Jiyu Shenyuan. In Lu Yin's opinion, Sister Shenyuan would definitely be as indignant as him and condemn this bastard swordsman together. But unexpectedly, Lu Yin found that Jiyu Xuanyuan's face was quite calm like a lake in winter, without a single ripple. Little Yin, don't be too arbitrary. Continue watching, this thing is very interesting. Jiyu Xuanyuan's voice didn't carry a trace of emotion, but her heart was in turmoil. Obviously, this person on the TV, the bastard Lu Yin was talking about, was herself. Interesting, didn't Liu Lei say that he had already suppressed this matter? Why is it happening again? At this time, the live broadcast on the TV was still going on. When the young man stopped crying and calmed down, the host took the opportunity to ask again, how did this happen? Are you sure it's the swordsman? Do you know the name of the murderer? We're sure it's the swordsman, and it's not just one person who saw it, but more than 100 uncles and aunties in the entire bus company all saw it. And that person also told all of them that his name is Gu Han. Let's go sue him if we can. At this point, the young man lit up the white scroll with the words eternal grievance and solemnly scolded, surnamed Ji-Yu, come out if you have the gut. I'm here to sue you now, come out. Gu Han? This name sounds so familiar. Could it be the temporary commander-in-chief Gu Han during the Great Invasion? Is it the swordsman Gu Han who has disappeared? The reporter trembled and asked excitedly. I don't know if it's him. The young man shook his head. I only know that his name is Gu Han. I've complained to the council, to the sword committee, to the court, and to the discipline inspection commission. I tried to confront the swordsman named Gu Han, but they didn't respond. Then, many people called me and warned me to be careful of my mouth, telling me not to offend people I shouldn't offend. I'm curious, could it be that this Gu Han's background is more important than my father's life? Is my father's life so insignificant? I'm not convinced. I want to continue to sue. I want to. Before the young man could finish his words, a group of people in uniforms rushed out and unreasonably pushed these people to the ground. Then, in front of the live broadcast camera, they began to drive these people away with batons. In a short while, these people were all injured and bleeding. Even the reporter seemed to have been hit with a baton, but he still stood firmly in the same place and refused to leave. Dear viewers, this is the live report brought to you by the Voice of Harmony. I believe you already have a judgment of the situation. We will continue to follow up on the progress of the situation. A television station with attitude. The Voice of Harmony reporting for you. Jackals of the same tribe. Lu Yin raised his fist angrily. That bastard Gu Han, he thinks is great just because he's a swordsman. Justice will not let him go. We must bring this bastard to justice. At this moment, Jiyu Shenyuan, who was scolded as a bastard, yawned. She actually fell asleep. Chapter 616. Jiyu Shenyuan slept peacefully, but in some places, some people still could not sleep soundly. In a private room of a tea house, a man was drinking tea while talking to someone with a small object the size of a soap. This object was called a mobile phone, an object from before the apocalypse. Ever since the invention of personal terminals, the functions of mobile phones for communication and entertainment were all replaced by personal terminals. As time went by, mobile phones no longer existed in the world. But this man was talking to someone with a mobile phone. There was a lot of meaning in this. It meant that at least in secret, there was a mobile phone communication network. Obviously, this network was independent of the network monitored by the highest-level artificial intelligence, Tomono Kakaze. Master, I've done what you asked me to do. Now the public opinion is fermenting. Soon, that old guy Liu Lei will be exhausted, the man said respectfully. I see. You didn't leave any clues, did you? The master on the other end of the phone asked. Don't worry, master. I've done everything secretly. When necessary, I can remove all the spies. I guarantee that we won't be implicated. Humph, that old fox Liu Lei can guess that we did it without any evidence. But without evidence, he can't use this opportunity to show his power. Tell the media that we control to keep reporting this matter. I want the entire Yuzhang city, no, the entire 8 base cities, to know what Guhan has done. I've been a bad guy all my life. Now, I want to be a good guy who upholds justice. But Master, Guhan is Liu Lei's apprentice. Won't this cause Liu Lei to retaliate? Both sides will suffer, the man said with some fear. You don't understand. Liu Lei has a bad temper. A little disturbance won't affect Guhan. Only when the whole city is in an uproar, the public will be angry, and the 7 cities will question him. Only then will Liu Lei be afraid and hand over the position of Master of the Sword Pavilion. The Master said coldly, Liu Lei is giving the position of Master of the Sword Pavilion to a little rat. Does Liu Lei want to occupy the highest power in the entire Yuzhang city? This time, we must help Chan get promoted. Either the chairman of the Sword Committee or the Master of the Sword Pavilion, Liu Lei can't take all the benefit. Also, Lord, should we expose the fact that Guhan is the military governor and the military governor is Guhan? The man asked again. Forget it, there's no need to reveal this. The Lord was silent for a while before replying, this Guhan is a powerful guy. Sooner or later, he will rise to the top. Moreover, Liu Lei will never bring him to justice. He will grow up sooner or later, so we can't be too ruthless. Also, we need a trump card in our hands. If this Guhan wants to fight us head-on, his identity as the military governor will be his Achilles heel. He's very proud of himself on the internet. I don't think he wants to ruin the reputation of his other identity, right? Yes, Lord. I'll do it right away. Just as the mastermind had planned, more than half of the TV stations in Yuzhang City suddenly began to follow up and report on Guhan's murder. Soon, the whole thing was exaggerated by the media and outlined in a simplified way. First, a video of Guhan's killing was posted on the internet. In the video, Guhan's decisive killing intent and clean swordsmanship made the people who saw the video shudder. When these people saw the video, they felt as if they had been beheaded. They were both afraid and angry of Guhan. Then, they began to describe the life of the dead man, such as how many good things this old man had done, how many model awards he had won, what a kind grandfather and father he had been at home. The neighbors missed them so much. In any case, they wanted to say that such a good old man, such a law-abiding old man, an old man who risked his life for the sake of the company's assets, had been killed by Ji Yuhan for no reason. As for the reason for Ji Yuhan's murder, it was vague. The funniest thing was that a television host actually said that Ji Yuhan couldn't afford a hovercraft, so he wanted to take advantage of the chaos to steal one from the government for his own use. He didn't even think about it. Every engine was registered with the government, so how could it be stolen and used by someone else? Anyway, the media spared no effort in spreading the news. Soon, the whole of Yuzhang City knew about Guhan's atrocities. Then, almost everyone expressed anger and condemnation toward Guhan. Even the media in the other 7 cities began to pay attention to this matter. On the second day, there were already a few hundred people marching in front of the temporary service center for the swordbearers. With each passing day, the number of people in the group increased. Soon, the number of people in the group exceeded 1,000. A storm was brewing in the dark against Ji Yuhan and Liu Lei. Ji Shenyuan wasn't ignorant of these things, but she didn't show the slightest worry, as if this matter had nothing to do with her. She ate and drank as she liked. On the contrary, Lu Yin was very concerned about this matter. He constantly searched for information on this matter on the internet, and gradually became a person who hated Guhan to the core. This idiot didn't think that Guhan's surname was Ji Yu, and so was Ji Yu Xuanyuan's. Even if he couldn't guess that Ji Yu Shenyuan was Guhan, he should have guessed that these two people were related. Today was the last day of the semifinals, and it was also the day that the top 8 and top 4 would be decided. There would be one match in the morning and one in the afternoon. The one in the morning would be the top 8, and the one in the afternoon would naturally be the top 14. However, this was different from other competition days, where different groups of swordbearers would compete at the same time. When it came to the top 16, the matches would be held at different times. After a pair of opponents finished their match, the other team would take over. This way, all the matches could be seen by the audience. After all, it was the top 16, and those who could enter the top 16 were all absolute experts among the swordbearers. Their matches were all very exciting. Guhan's match was in the 4th place, which meant that he was in the 4th team to fight. The order was also decided by drawing lots. Guhan didn't look down on his opponents just because he was sure that he would win. Whether it was before or after his match, Guhan carefully observed them and discovered a few talents that were worth paying attention to. The first to fight was a female player called Glass of the Seven Seas. This female player was also a sword master. She used a glass sword and her swordsmanship was quite good. Her opponent's sword mistress was forced to retreat, and she used a majestic combo to defeat her opponent. This made Guhan a little suspicious. There were more and more sword masters appearing recently. Had sword masters become worthless? There was another opponent in the top 16 for Guhan. Like Guhan, he had a few scars on his face. This guy's name was set to be hidden. Even if it was a competition, there was no restriction that players had to reveal their in-game names. Players could choose to hide their names. This way, all sorts of system notifications would label the player with a nameless and a serial number. For example, the opponent in front of Guhan was called Nameless 8765. This meant that he was the 8765th player who chose to hide his name. Guhan felt that this opponent was worth paying attention to, because his fighting style was very wild, and because the sword maiden in his hand was actually a very rare Shinto sword maiden. His fighting style was to summon all kinds of spirit-branded Shikigami to fight, and the Pozo Maru in his hand could actually summon 30 Sky Evil Demon Red Shikigami at the same time. Although the Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghost's attack and defense weren't strong enough, they had a unique skill that allowed them to provoke their opponents and force them to attack them. As a result, Guhan unexpectedly encountered a rather difficult battle. These Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts indiscriminately rushed to Guhan's side and began to taunt Guhan. Whenever Guhan attacked his opponent, the surrounding Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts would turn into flying meatballs and quickly crash into Guhan's body, causing quite a bit of damage. In the end, these Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts actually managed to whittle away 20% of Guhan's shield energy. This was the first time since entering the semifinals that Guhan had lost so much shield energy. Even the commentator was amazed. He felt that there was a possibility that Guhan would fail miserably. Unfortunately, Guhan quickly used his actions to slap the commentator in the face. At first, Guhan wanted to avoid these Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts and directly attack his opponent, but in the end, he was taunted and had his hands and feet tied. As a result, Guhan changed his mind and decided to kill these Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts first. As a result, the Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts' taunts lost their effect. Once Guhan decided to kill these Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts first, these spirit-branded Shikigami would only have one path to death. These Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts' HP was very low to begin with, and they couldn't even withstand a single strike from Guhan. In less than 2 minutes, more than 30 Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts were all killed by Guhan. Seeing this, Nameless 8765 could only smile bitterly and admit defeat. His sword essence seemed to only be enough to summon 30 Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts. Now that the Scarlet Heavenly Evil Ghosts were all dead, he had also lost the ability to fight. It was impossible for him to be a match for the famous military governor, so it was better to admit defeat. What made Guhan feel fortunate was that this Nameless 8765 did not take advantage of Guhan's immobility to kiss him like his 3 opponents did the day before. Instead, he respectfully asked Guhan, "Sir Military Governor, what do you think of my abilities?" "Not bad, you have the ability to catch people off guard." Guhan commented honestly. "Thank you, sir." This Nameless 8765 bowed to Guhan and thanked him before disappearing from the arena. This left Guhan a little confused, not knowing what this guy was thinking. Chapter 617. The rest of the matches were lackluster, except for the last match. The good guy from Fantasy Village made Guhan's eyes light up. The sword wielder who was competing with Guhan for first place had a sword named Yuchang sword. That's right, it was the second-ranked Yuchang sword, the predecessor of Duyu sword, a sword wielder who was good at assassination. The good guy from Fantasy Village's opponent, the sword wielder, did not even get to touch Yuchang sword's body during the entire match. She was poisoned to death by Yuchang sword's fierce poison extraction technique. Putting aside his character, this good guy from Fantasyland did indeed have extremely high attainments in terms of Sword Maiden's command and control of the situation. He was Ji Han's strongest opponent in this competition. After the morning matches were over, it was time for lunch break. As Guhan was drinking tea and teaching Lu Shihua basic swordsmanship, Guhan's communicator rang again. This time, it was Guhan who was looking for him. Loneliness doesn't understand brother's loneliness. Not sure if everyone still remembered this name, but it was the in-game name of Guhan's cheap master, cloudy sword deity, Liu Lei. Seeing that his master was looking for him, Guhan naturally could not be slow. He arranged to meet up with Liu Lei in a tea house. Bastard, you're in big trouble. As soon as they met, Liu Lei said this to Guhan. In response, Guhan shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Master, I'm in big trouble, but your trouble isn't small either. Where did you get all these ideas from, kid? You're so cunning. Liu Lei knocked on Guhan's head. It seems like you've watched a lot of TV, so I won't repeat it. This time, it's coming for you, and it's also coming for me. Neither of us can escape. Sigh, this is a disaster caused by your disciple. It should be handled by your disciple. It is your disciple who has caused trouble for master. Guhan bowed and apologized to Liu Lei. All right, I don't want to hear this kind of nonsense anymore. We, master and disciple, are bound together. This time, both of us have to deal with it properly. If we're not careful, my reputation for the rest of my life will be completely ruined. Liu Lei said with a bitter face. They don't have the guts to ruin master's reputation. Otherwise, they will get themselves into trouble. They don't have the guts. I think they just want to destroy disciple, and conveniently snatch the position under disciple's buttock. Ji Han said disdainfully. Oh my precious disciple, you can even see through this. Liu Lei patted Guhan's head. I want to ask you, who do you think is behind this? Besides those people in Mount Di, who else could it be? It's nothing more than seeing us master and disciple occupy all the power in Yuzhang City. They are deeply uneasy, so they decided to ruin my reputation, force me to abdicate, and give the position of Sword Pavilion Master to their people. To be able to mobilize more than half of the TV stations and media in Yuzhang City, this power is definitely not something that a single Gendi family can play. I'm afraid there are at least 3 or 4 Gendi families involved. Guhan analyzed almost all the tricks in one breath, which stunned Liu Lei. My goodness, even with your master's lifetime of experience, it took him one night to figure it out. You little bastard, you actually thought it through. I think even if I throw the sword committee to you, you won't be played by those old foxes. Liu Lei exclaimed in admiration. From the looks of it, he already had the intention to throw the sword committee to Ji Han. My good master, the sword committee is like a brazier. Before disciple has the strength of master, it's impossible for me to sit in that brazier. Guhan smiled. Master, why did you come to find me? Originally, I just wanted to remind you not to panic and to follow my instructions. But since you've thought it through more thoroughly than me, then let me ask you, what do you think you should do? Nothing. Guhan's eyes were shining with wisdom. Anyway, now that Guhan has disappeared, I can at least announce my death and live incognito for a few years. When I have the strength of spirit sword level, I can deal with these bastards. This is the worst plan, the most undesirable one. Let me ask you, what's the best plan? Liu Lei waved his hand and rejected Guhan's idea. However, even if Liu Lei didn't reject it, Guhan wouldn't use this method. This method was too suffocating. The best plan is actually almost the same as the worst plan. Guhan smiled mysteriously. There are 2 things that are most frightening in a fight. One is not knowing where the opponent is, and the other is not knowing what kind of moves the opponent has. Now that I have both of these points, the The ones who should be anxious should be them, not us. They are like boxers who clench their fists and are ready to punch, but they don't even know where I am, so how can they fight? Just let them be, let them fight. No matter how lively Wang Baoqiang is, there will be a time when he belongs to Wang Feng. Time is on our side. You're really a monster. Those guys actually dared to scheme against you. They're going to be out of luck. Liu Lei sighed. He suddenly realized that apart from strength, there was nothing else that could suppress Gu Han. It's more than just bad luck. They want to scheme against me. If I don't make them shed some blood, how can they remember today's matter forever? Gu Han sneered, like an ambitious and ruthless person. In the afternoon, the competition continued. This time, Gu Han's opponent was a somewhat amusing fellow. He seemed to know that his swordsmanship was not up to par, so he very straightforwardly threw the sword lady to the side. He did not even release the liberation sword, and casually shouted at Gu Han, "Lord Military Governor, do you dare to compete with me in other things?" "What things?" Gu Han asked subconsciously. "Hehe, do you dare to compete with me in couplet? It's the couplets in the movie Tang Bo who points autumn fragrance. Do you dare to compete with me?" As one of the few movies that had been completely preserved, Tang Bo Who Tips the Fragrance of Autumn could be said to be a household name, especially the couplets in it. It had reignited the entertainment of couplets after the apocalypse. To most people, this wasn't a strange thing. F***ck. This person is too shameless. What couplets? If you have the guts, compete to see who has more scars on their faces. Yes. Why don't we compete to see whose name is Military Governor? The audience watching the live broadcast on the forum instantly scolded this amusing fellow into a pile of dog **t. One after another, they expressed their deep contempt for this fellow. I'll go first. Female basketball, male tennis, ball blue, tennis ball does not enter. Come, say the second half of the couplet. I admit defeat. This amusing fellow did not wait for Gu Han to agree and directly said the first half of the couplet. What the hell is this couplet? Not only does it not match the rhyme, but it also doesn't match the rules of couplets. What kind of D***mend thing is this? And it's also very simple. I can easily match it with someone else's. Pistol left, machine gun right, pistol and machine gun mute. A forum netizen wrote excitedly in the forum. Yes, this is too simple. I also have one. Celestial sparrow, peacock sparrow, peacock sparrow does not come. South Guangzhou, North Tongju, South Guangzhou, Tongju does not exist. Alright, the forum was instantly flooded with all sorts of couplets that the gamers had come up with. The gamers had all turned into couplets experts and wrote neat and tidy couplets. Haha, my couplet is very simple, isn't it? Sir Military Governor, you can just randomly match one. It's fine, it's very simple. This amusing fellow said to Gu Han. However, Gu Han did not speak. He looked at this amusing fellow, not knowing what was on his mind. It's a very simple couplet. Military Governor, just randomly think of one to match. The gamers on the forum saw that Gu Han did not reply and could not help but urge him. To them, this was such a simple couplet. There were almost 1,000 answers posted on the forum. Just as the surrounding crowd was complaining about Gu Han's slow speed, Gu Han suddenly spoke. A very impressive couplet. This is actually a word riddle couplet. The first half of the sentence female basketball, male tennis is a riddle. The second half of the sentence ball blue, tennis ball does not enter. It is a dynamic description of the answer to the riddle. Therefore, in order to match this couplet, you have to use the same formula in the first half of the sentence to set up a riddle. At the same time, the noun in the first half of the sentence is used as a verb in the second half. Gu Han spoke incessantly. The audience who were watching the live broadcast were stunned. Not many people actually understood what Gu Han was saying. Sir Military Governor, you are indeed extraordinary. This amusing fellow's expression became serious for the first time. Ever since I created this couplet 10 years ago, no one has been able to match it. In fact, only a few people could even understand it. Sir Military Governor, You were able to identify the mystery within the couplet the first time you heard it. I am very impressed. In that case, Sir Guhan, please tell us the second half of this couplet. I can't match it. Guhan shook his head frankly. Give me a month and I might be able to think of it. But now, I can't think of it. Then, I win. Hearing Guhan's words, the amusing fellow instantly became excited. You can't match my couplet. I win. Haha, I win, military governor, I win. Before the amusing fellow could finish his celebratory action, he was blinded and fell to the ground. The protective shield on his body was instantly erased. System, player military governor has won. Why? You didn't keep your promise. The defeated amusing fellow angrily stood up from the ground. Looking at Guhan who had sheathed his sword, the amusing fellow angrily scolded Guhan. Hey, which ear of yours heard that I agreed to let you decide the outcome of the match? Guhan threw out such a sentence, and immediately made this clown speechless. Although the competition had ended inexplicably, the discussion about the couplet on the forum had not ended. A group of people kept discussing about the mystery behind the couplet. They could not understand it at all. Until a netizen named Big Onion slapped himself on the head. With a flash of inspiration, he wrote down an explanation that made everyone gasp in admiration. Men's tennis and women's basketball are indeed a riddle. The answer to the riddle is, isn't a man's testicles the ball in the net, while a woman's hymen is blocking the ball? The thing on the man's ball wants to go in, but the woman's hymen is blocking it. Doesn't this mean that the ball can't go in? Men and women correspond to each other. Tennis and basketball correspond to each other. Men's tennis and women's basketball correspond to each other. What's more frightening is that when the ball and the tennis ball are put together, they become a fanciful movement that corresponds to each of the previous words. Moreover, when the two balls are put together, there are a total of 2 balls according to the man's ball. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. If I don't see the second half of this couplet in this lifetime, I won't be able to rest in peace. After listening to this netizen's explanation, all the onlookers knelt on the ground and worshipped the amusing fellow who came up with this couplet. Then, this couplet quickly spread throughout the world. Generation after generation of couplet masters lost all their hair because of this. They could not think of the second half of this couplet. Chapter 618. After exiting the game, Jiyu Shenyuan was pleasantly surprised to find that her toes could bend slightly. This meant that Jiyu Shenyuan had recovered all her senses and was one step closer to turning back into Guhan. Unfortunately, Guhan still couldn't control the sword essence in his body, so he couldn't control his dimensional pocket. He didn't know how the 3 Egyptian deities and the 8 paw were doing in the dimensional pocket. Logically speaking, the 3 Egyptian deities had already woken up and were probably cursing in the dimensional space now. However, they had stayed in the trial formation for more than 700 years, so they should have a lot of patience. What really worried Guhan was the 8 paw. Because he was worried that he couldn't beat the Nether River Patriarch and would die tragically in the hands of the Nether River Patriarch, Guhan had forced the 8 paw into the dimensional pocket in advance. He didn't know if the 8 lively little guys had suffocated to death in there. Anyway, before he recovered his sword essence, everything would be in vain. Jiyu Shenyuan stayed in the Lu family and felt a little comfortable. The only thing that made Jiyu Shenyuan unhappy was that Lu Yin, the idiot beside her, hadn't given up on denouncing Guhan. He would check the latest progress of the incident on the internet when he had nothing to do, and then he kept cursing Guhan beside Jiyu Shenyuan. Fortunately, Jiyu Shenyuan was open-minded and didn't do anything to this guy. But this time, Lu Shihua was very calm. Not only did he not blame Guhan, but when Lu Yin was cursing, Lu Shihua actually scolded Lu Yin and told him not to talk nonsense if he didn't know the truth. Hearing this, Jiyu Shenyuan nodded secretly, and she liked Lu Shihua even more. There were still 3 days for the final of the 8-city sword conference. During these 3 days, Guhan was wholeheartedly teaching Lu Shihua swordsmanship. Time passed quietly, and when there was only 1 day left before the final, Liu Lei suddenly brought 2 very bad news to Guhan. The first news was about the development of the situation. Liu Lei told Guhan that his beheading had attracted the attention of Long Shijiendi, who specially sent a decree to the Yuzhang Sword Committee, asking them to submit a complaint report to him within a day. At the same time, he also sent a special envoy to Yuzhang City to fully cooperate with the special envoy's investigation. Because of this matter, Liu Lei was so angry that he stamped his feet. In his original words, he said, "These treacherous bastards, if they want to fight with me fair and square, then so be it. Whether we win or lose, we will bear the responsibility. In any case, it is Yuzhang City's own business, and there has never been a reason for outsiders to intervene. These bastards even borrowed the power of Long Shijiendi. God knows what benefits they promised to Long Shijiendi. Anyway, these benefits can't be their things. They must use the resources of Yuzhang City. I can't wait to kill all these bastards." Liu Lei said to Guhan that he wanted to kill these bastards, but in fact, he had already begun to prepare to deal with the special envoy of Long Shijiendi. It was said that the special envoy had already reached the border of Yuzhang City and would arrive there in a day or two. If the hands of the City of London and Long Shijiendi got involved, it would be a very troublesome thing. There was Long Shijiendi suppressing them, the public opinion of Yuzhang City, and more than 10 spirit sword-level swordbearers of Di Shan's faction in the middle. Liu Lei and Guhan's situation could be said to be forced into a corner. Once Long Shijiendi said that Guhan was guilty, and then mobilized the Sword Committee to punish Guhan, then unless Guhan immediately became an immortal sword-level swordbearer, he might still be trapped in the prison of the Discipline Commission. Therefore, the special envoy of the City of London became crucial. If he could shut his mouth, then everything would be much easier. Unfortunately, it was not easy to make the special envoy of Long Shijiendi shut his mouth. Anyway, this was a headache for Liu Lei. At worst, Guhan would hand over the position of the Sword Pavilion Master of Yuzhang City. Anyway, he did not have much attachment to this lame position. However, what made Guhan a little strange was that it would take at least 10 days to reach Yuzhang City from London, and his matter only began to ferment 4 days ago. That was to say, this special envoy had already set off from London 4 or 5 days before the outbreak of time. However, when he thought about it carefully, it did not seem strange. Di Shan's family deliberately wanted to get rid of Guhan. Perhaps they had already colluded with Long Shijiendi. Long Shijiendi had sent the special envoy one step earlier, and it was very likely that Yuzhang City would be unprepared. Anyway, this was the territory of Yuzhang City, and Liu Lei was the only sword holder of the fairy sword level in Yuzhang City. He was just a special envoy of the City of London. Could he overturn the sky of Yuzhang City? This was the first news that Liu Lei had given to Guhan. The second news was about Guhan's 3 sword ladies. According to the cleaning, only Guhan's heaven-reliant sword had been found. It was extremely badly damaged, almost on the verge of breaking. This also meant that there was actually no big problem with the heaven-reliant sword. It was not broken. There were many sword forging masters and materials in Yuzhang City. Under Liu Lei's strict order, the heaven-reliant sword had almost been repaired. What really worried Liu Lei was that the other 2 sword ladies, the Qingpin sword and the Duyu sword, had not been found. Liu Lei had almost turned the entire core area upside down. He had even used Tomono Kakaze's power to search all the places in Yuzhang City where the surveillance cameras could see, but he could not find the shadow of the Qingpin sword and the Duyu sword. He was afraid that they were either completely destroyed or secretly hidden by someone. If he had told Guhan this news 2 days in advance, Guhan would have been burning with anxiety. Even if he had to use a wheelchair, he would have searched the entire Yuzhang City to find the 2 missing sword ladies. However, when he heard the news 2 days later, Guhan was very calm. Just yesterday, Guhan had restored a weak connection with the sword mark. Through the sword mark, Guhan could clearly sense that the 2 little guys were still alive and kicking. The reason why Liu Lei could not find the 2 guys was that his targets were the sword ladies in the form of swords. But in fact, the 2 cute girls were still living in the form of sword ladies even without the support of Guhan's sword element. Liu Lei did not pay attention to the little girls on the street at all, so naturally he could not find Qingpin sword and Duyu sword. Therefore, Guhan comforted Liu Lei and told him not to worry. He told him that he had found Qingpin's sword and Duoyu's sword and that he did not need to worry anymore. The most important thing was to prepare to deal with Longsha Jiandi's envoy. Alas, Yuzhang City has just escaped from a great disaster, and these people have begun to fight among themselves. When I die, God knows how many days of peace Yuzhang City will have. Liu Lei finally ended his meeting with Guhan with a sigh. Kill. Kill. In a small alley in the core area of Yuzhang City, two groups of people with swords were fighting fiercely. One by one, they slashed their swords at each other. Their reckless spirit was even more ruthless than the sword-bearers. Seeing this, everyone probably thought that it was a group of reckless gangsters fighting for territory. But in fact, these people who were fighting were just little kids. The oldest one was less than 14 years old. Taking a closer look, the weapons in their hands were actually plastic swords, and the tip of the swords was deliberately added with a piece of sponge. Hitting the body would only cause some pain, but it would not hurt anyone. These little kids were also very well behaved, avoiding the vital parts such as the head, heart, and crotch. At most, they would suffer some flesh wounds and sleep for a day. Ouch! It hurts. I'm hurt. I'm going to die. After an anxious fight, the little kids in red uniforms successfully defeated their opponents and won the battle. But their victory was also very miserable. Only 3 of the more than 20 people were still standing. Stinking paw, I've won. My brother is mine now. Seeing this scene, a little girl with a dirty face jumped out of nowhere. The 3 little kids who were still standing immediately went up to her and smiled flatteringly. Big sister is right. Big brother is definitely big sisters. He must be big sisters. Who said that? You were just lucky today. In terms of total, Qingpin won 4 games, and you only won 3. What are you so proud of? Qingpin also came out from the corner. He was very unhappy to see his underlings lying on the ground. He stomped his feet fiercely. You useless things. Don't eat tonight. All of you go practice swordsmanship. Hee. Qingpin, practicing swordsmanship is your business. Shouldn't you ask them to hand over their pocket money? Our brothers are still waiting to get their share. Duoyu said with a smile. Qingpin rolled his eyes and angrily ran to each of his underlings. Under their pleading eyes, he mercilessly took away their pocket money. Then, he gathered them together, turned his head, and handed them all to Duoyu. Let me count. It seems that there's a lot of money today. Duoyu happily counted the money that Qingpin had handed over and found that there was actually more than 500 yuan. You 3 have done a meritorious deed. 50 yuan each. Duoyu first gave 50 yuan to each of the 3 people who were still standing. The 3 of them held the money happily. The remaining 350 yuan, Duoyu evenly distributed it to the rest of his underlings who were lying on the ground. It seemed that both sides were fighting to snatch each other's pocket money. The winner would get all of the others' pocket money. No wonder these little guys fought with no regard for their lives. Pocket money was their lifeblood. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,